1,000 round wins, 110 race wins, one living legend. Greg Anderson joins us today on Drag Illustrated's The Wes Buck Show. Let's do this deal. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Hope you're doing well. Remember, we have a goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel. So remember to click subscribe, smash that bell so you get notified anytime we go live. We have a hell of a show for you guys to say today. Dare I say it? A barn burner. We're going to be joined in just about a half hour by the one and only Greg Anderson, fresh off a big win at the NHRA Super Grip Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee, man. Incredible weekend for the Greg Anderson camp, KB Titan Racing. Just when your name starts getting thrown around in the same conversation as John Force, I think it's safe to say that you have arrived. And I'm very excited to talk to Greg. So we're going to dive into that a little bit later in the show. And we're also going to be joined live from 10 Soldier Race Cars, the one and only Jimmy Dale and Michael Poland, to talk about their new Little Gangsters mini point series taking place in a couple of weeks at Bowling Green in Ohio as well. So excited about that. And it's crazy how quickly that has become one of the most ongoing or most popular conversations in all of the sport right now is 530 index racing with Jimmy Dale and Poland. But before I get too far into this deal, let me introduce my co-host here on the Wes Buck Show, my dear friend and partner in crime, Mike Carpenter. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
I'm tightening this view up.
Tighten it up. We're down a couple today.
Oh, what did I do? This is what happens whenever
if we don't have Blake and JT. We're running it ourselves. We don't have
Blake and JT. We're running it ourselves. JT's having some sort of technical issues. God only knows what's going on in La Plata, Missouri right now. But hopefully all is well, and we'll have JT back in the saddle here in just a few minutes. But anyways, man, I think it's the topic of conversation. I actually just finished up an opinionated editorial, and I know we'll touch on it a little bit with Greg, but it has been the hot topic the last couple of days here, and I want to get your take on it, Mike. My opinionated editorial that I just published on dragillustrated.com basically explains my perspective that I think the tensions that we're seeing in drag racing, specifically pro stock, the dust up heard around the world, are actually good for the sport. And I'm just curious, and for those that maybe weren't paying attention to the NHRA broadcast this past weekend going on at Bristol's Thunder Valley Dragway, a little bit of some words exchanged on the starting line between the KB Titan camp and the Elite Motorsports camp, and tempers escalated, tempers flare, and people got a little fired up. And I'm just kind of curious, Mike, like this is something that these are the type of conversations that I really enjoy having on this show. So I think that's maybe why we're talking about it. But I think passion is proof of investment. I say this a lot, but humans are going to human. And I think that as a collective, as a sport, we kind of got to get off this high horse and quit trying to label people that are just simply fired up in the moment. I was having this conversation with Chad Head from Coletta Motorsports yesterday, and he's like, man, all I saw in Bristol was racers doing racer things. This is kind of the nature of the beast. And I tend to agree, but it seems to be a very polarizing conversation in our sport. And I'm just kind of curious your take on, balancing sportsmanship and passion and the things that go with both.
I don't know, man. It seems like we can never be happy, right? We call pro stock boring, pro Camaro. It's the KB and Elite show. How many times have we heard all these comments? But then when something spicy happens in pro stock, then it's, they shouldn't be doing that. They've got to carry themselves differently. What's the deal? And you've got people taking sides, which I think is critical. It's got to be polarizing, right? So you've got people on the KB side, you got people on the Elite side. at least in the comments, sort of staking their claim as to who they thought was right, or what side they're defending. But you see this a lot. Like, to me, this is a lot of the nature of drag racing. And you see this at your local track. You see this at a lot. I mean, we've seen it come to the forefront with the Grudge and No Time. Seen a lot of people on the starting line, a lot of emotions after a win or a loss or something happens. A lot of people really bought into what's happening, and that to me is all we saw there as well. And I'm here for it. It's been a couple of years since we saw something like this. The KB and Elite rivalry never has died down, and whether it's at the forefront or behind the scenes, it's always there. And we just saw it come to the forefront this weekend, and I think actually we're seeing NHRA embrace it more. We saw NHRA even post a quick whoever took that video from the tower looking down into the back area of the water box into the staging lanes. They posted that video. So for NHRA to actually even embrace it, I think kind of shows that maybe we're seeing a little bit of a turn there as far as them not shying completely away from it, which is kind of how we've seen other motorsports embrace this kind of thing, not necessarily condone it. And then there'll be penalties and fines, which we can get into all that as well. But to kind of show that emotion, don't stifle it, whether it be on the top end, as soon as someone gets out of the car, or things like this, let it naturally play out and see what it can do for that class and for the sport as a whole.
I think there's a clear double standard. I mean, it's if you look at other sports, this type of thing is celebrated. We just call it fire or competitiveness. I mean, MLB, you've got a bench clearing brawl. It's a viral moment. It's not a career ending scandal. NBA, guys like Kevin Garnett, I mean, they trash talked people's families and still ended up with endorsement deals. NFL post game handshakes, snubs, and sideline shouting matches, all that stuff is like, it's storylines, not scandal. And I mean, the UFC made billions on the backs of screaming into cameras and throwing chairs at press conferences. I don't know that we need to look at these men and women as the people that need to set an example for our children, right?
Or that need to be so worried about sponsors. I mean, they are, and these teams are sponsored, but they have a close relationship with those sponsors. Or yes, it may not just be the all-out corporate sponsorship that we saw in the past, and it's a B2B thing, or it's it's a family-run race team, or whatever the case may be, where people can't be so afraid, or aren't as afraid anymore for these kind of things to jeopardize their sponsorship or their airtime on TV from Fox or from NHRA. So all those things kind of have to work together. Now we don't really want to go crazy and have, the pendulum swing too far in the other direction. Because the other thing that comes to mind, and anytime that I've personally been involved in a situation like this, the first person that's usually coming up to you and is upset about it is a mom with her kids there or something, and the example that you're setting for their kids. So that is kind of the slippery slope. Like, so many people look up to these teams and these drivers, and how do they show that fire and express themselves and be an adult? Like the Pat McAfee show, every time that show starts, it's got a disclaimer card that says, this is a show about sports, but it's our opinions, and there may be some cussing involved, because that's how humans in the real world talk. And so it's like kind of bridging that gap between how things actually are in the real world amongst adults, and then also setting a good example. So that to me
I think you're right. Like, why do we hold our sport to this church picnic standard? Right. Like, why does emotion equal bad optics in drag racing, but everywhere else it equals ratings gold? Like, I do think you're right. Like, times have changed. We're in an era where authenticity wins every single time. Fans are starving for it, to be honest. I mean, how many comments do you got to see on social media about these canned, corporate kind of toe the corporate line sound bites on the top end? I mean, we want these guys to tell us how they feel. And I always say, like, that's what's going to connect someone, because I would argue that, I mean, I remember when Tony Stewart it was a viral reaction to Bobby Bodie Jr. throwing his helmet after he wrecked the car, or the body blew off of it. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he got out of the car and launched his helmet, and it was like this big controversy, right? And the cameras, shout out to NHRA and Fox, because they went immediately to Tony Stewart, who was very much a newcomer to our sport at the time. And he immediately, and I'm paraphrasing here, but like that's the type of passion Tony wants to see. He goes, that's the kind of guy that I want driving my car, because I know he cares. I know this stuff means something to him. And I'm always pointing to that as what our sport needs more of, not less of. I mean, social clips of that drama, I bet that outperformed anything else they posted. Matter of fact, we could probably check that right now.
100%. You could dig up those numbers. And I know the stuff that we posted throughout the weekend about Erica's situation with the tires or the wheel, and then the penalty, or the announcement of the penalty, and then the later subsequent announcement of the actual fine and points deduction. Those have been huge social media drivers as well. And this just opens up the comments for everyone to jump in there and give their opinion, which is good, man. We post so much content that I feel like it's funny. We joke, you never know what's going to hit and what's not. We got this like fire video, man. We got this graphic that we've worked on all day, and it just doesn't get the traction. And then you got something like that, and then it's just a firestorm of comments from the fans and from every people involved. So that, to me, that's a positive thing. That is a positive thing. Now, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about with the elite camp, and maybe we can get Greg to talk about some of this when he gets on here. As far as the rule, how it was enforced or not, and then the fine, did the punishment fit the crime, all of those kind of things. We can maybe dive into some of that. I don't know how much Greg will really want to, just knowing Greg and knowing kind of how he runs his operation. But we can try to prod him a little bit. But before we jump into that, talking about the emotion and allowing people to see what goes on behind the scenes. And it's not necessarily about what's happening on the track, but it's like the people involved in it. Our second guest, Jimmy Dale, Michael Poland, all the little gangster stuff that we've been talking about. That's a perfect example of that on display. The realness, the rawness of that class, the I guess we'll call them influencers at this point that have huge social media followings that are getting involved in it. The series that they're taking that class to and running it, and the audience that it's now garnering, kind of is an illustration of that on a lower level, is it not?
I think so. And I mean, I think it's proof positive that there is a way to do both, right? Like, I think that you can care deeply and carry yourself with class. You can have fire without being a total jackass. And I think, obviously, like I said at the start of the show, humans are going to human. You're going to see people, you're going to see that pendulum swing too far one way from time to time. And of course, those moments need to get called out. But like, by and large, this is the type of these type of rivalries are exactly what our sport needs. And we need to celebrate these things, embrace them, talk about them openly, because, to your point earlier, I give a lot of credit to NHRA for not totally shying away from this. Jason Galvin and Courtney Enders in the booth both went and did some investigative journalism immediately following the little dust up on the starting line, and got some words from each camp. And I think that it's important part of the story of all of this. Like, it's going to make the rest of this season that much more interesting, in my opinion. And I like to see it. Again, I totally appreciate what you're saying. I've seen those things, and I've seen the look on women's faces and mothers' faces, and I've seen the kids with horrified looks on their faces. And
then they need to go home and teach their kids what's right and wrong. I mean, it's not everybody's job to do that. It's not everybody else's job to do that. This shit happens in sports. Embrace it. I agree with you guys. Like, this is great.
The times are changing, because 10, 15, 20 years ago, you could not do that. Even local quick 8 Saturday night, pretty rough environment, something maybe even what we would call like no time grudge type environments back then was how some of these Saturday night quick 8s were here in the South. And there were some dust ups and some scuffles, and there was 100% chance of someone coming by your pits and telling you how poor of an example you just set for their kids. So I mean, it
15 or 20 years ago, though, you couldn't turn on ABC or NBC, anything like that. I mean, nobody was cussing. Everything was so PG that it was almost corny. You know, to be honest with you, it wasn't real life at all. But now, I mean, you turn on those same channels. I mean, my God. I mean, we consider that stuff like softcore porn back in the
We
day. I mean,
just
you
had
know,
this
I mean, really.
conversation offline. Actually, Wes was having Wes said we got a hell of a show today to start, and we were talking about how hell and in his household pissed
Oh
or
yeah.
pissed off. Like we grew up, you couldn't say those words. Those were cuss words. Pissed is kind of like a borderline cuss word, but now it's like
When they
Sophia,
say
your
about
10 or
anything,
11-year-old daughter
you know,
is like it's an accepted thing to say that, and so like things just
Oh, my kids
change.
got mad at me or like
Yeah.
frustrated with me because I presented an argument that pissed off is a bad word. Like we don't say that. The kids don't say that. Like they're not allowed to say that. But they're
yeah,
like,
I'm
that's
mad
not a
off.
bad word.
Huh?
That's not a bad word. It just means you're mad. And I'm like,
Ticked
no,
off is what we had to say.
It's like this
Eat
is
off.
But I mean, again, it's one of those things that times change. And to Mike's earlier point, and I think this is something that everybody in our sport, no matter where you operate in this community, can learn from the fact that authenticity wins. Like a lot of major brands are moving away from these highly produced marketing commercials or advertisements and going towards, you know, influencer shot, single camera, poorly lit, modest audio. Like the more real it is, the better it performs. I mean, I'm seeing it from major league brands that are going away from having Tom Cruise in their commercials and focusing more on some well-known micro influencer or what have you, shooting a video in their house or in their office using some product or in their shop using some product. So the whole world is swinging towards realness, raw, real. It's honestly one of the reasons why I've kind of like not felt a tremendous amount of pressure to ramp up the production level of this show. Like there's been many times I thought, you know what, we need to get everybody in a room. We need to sit down in a badass studio and all of us be there and we can film 6 or 8 episodes in a couple of days and air them over time and ramp up the production value. But I don't think anybody cares. I don't think it matters.
They actually perform worse. That's what I was talking about earlier. We'll spend all that time on that production and then it gets nowhere near the traction as some raw instant. To me, it's like the instant reaction. As soon as that fight happened on the starting line, it's not about let's produce a video talking about it. It's let's get it up as quickly as possible while it's fresh, because people want to, I feel like they want to feel engaged or participate in that moment because it just happened. Like you can't get that stuff up quick enough.
I couldn't agree more, man. And it's a really, like I said, I think it's a super polarizing thing. And every time these type of things happen, remember Spencer, excuse me, I almost talked bad about Spencer. Not bad, I was just joking. But Steve Torrance and Cameron Ferre, they have that dust up on the top end at the finals in Pomona, and you know, punches are thrown, the whole thing gets out of control or whatever, and there's some shoving matches. And Steve Torrance was vilified for years.
Yeah,
I feel like it kind of it made his career kind of take a little bit of a different turn.
It really did.
Like people were so upset about that. But there are people. Have you noticed that like the Steve Torrance's and then this Erica Enders thing that are magnets for this? When something like this happens, then people really, really gravitate toward it. I think that's what's gotten so much traction about this fight. I don't
think that's the majority of people though either, Mike. I mean,
no,
I think
it's actually a good thing.
Screaming, you know, like the majority of the people kind of dig it. I mean, come on, who doesn't like a little drama? Especially in sports. You know,
you also have to be mindful of
it's just the people screaming that you're hearing
the
vocal
minority.
Right?
The vocal minority.
We're talking about that video. Did we not see earlier when we were having our conversation that NHRA did post that video of the fight or posted it somewhere?
They posted it on their YouTube shorts, and I only know that because I just ripped it off of there.
So they actually did post it themselves.
They actually did. And I can actually I can add it here. Let me go ahead and do that.
But the other thing to talk about, maybe we can talk about this with Greg also, but I don't think he ever was in that right lane, is the right lane at Bristol. They came into Bristol having repaved, I believe, the second half of the track, and it fixed one problem, but it created another because that facility just doesn't get used a lot, didn't have a lot of rubber on the track, and the right lane in particular was a nightmare, especially on Sunday. Like literally, I thought about it. My drag race bracket bonanza was just totally busted because all you had to do was pick. All you had to do was pick the favored seed.
Starting line here, brouhaha. Broken out.
This is the video that was posted by NHRA.
This is actually a different angle. It's like the opposite angle. I haven't seen this one.
But as best as I can understand,
This,
it is KB and
Justin
Cam
Bond,
Anderson.
Paladin Belushi. I see Scott Tidwell back
Yeah.
there. Hands
what
in his
is it?
pockets, just chilling. Just chilling.
Quadra grabs. That's DJ Mentor from KB there.
We'll run it one more time.
Fernando
I'm gonna
Quadra
go back.
Senior.
Well,
Let's go back there a little bit.
Is that Glenn Cromwell walking there for a second?
No. I can't imagine Cromwell was even
Look at Chef Cody there. He's about ready to cook.
There's
See that?
Tidwell. No.
Look
There's
at this right
Fernando Quadra
Look
did a
right
pretty
here in the
solid
corner.
job.
Cody's chewing on that gun like he's ready to go.
He is.
Those
He
are
is.
some serious jumps.
I love it, man.
You know who was standing back there in the back that I think could have been a real problem is Cord Collins, crew member
yeah.
for Billy Banaka's race team. Homeboy walking around with those broad shoulders, big traps. I mean, he wouldn't
There's a
biting,
word
but
for it. There's a word for it. When Cord gets like that, he goes cordless. No, it's no shit. There's an actual word for it, man.
cordless.
Cord, you got that jaw. You
Cordless.
got to get the jaw flex, and you get that look, and you get that Royce Freeman jaw deal too going. I mean, you never know what's going to happen there. But we need to play that video again. Once Greg gets on here, we need to get that video going again. I've not seen that angle.
Well, I mean, again, I do just want to say that I think that if anything, I'm happy to see racers demonstrating and everybody involved demonstrating how much this means to them.
Yeah.
That's what is lost on folks, is that, and it's a great kind of intro to our conversation with Greg here in a little bit, that, just talking about how hard this is. I mean, people have been pursuing this for decades, right? There are guys who have dedicated, and gals, excuse me, that have dedicated their entire lives to drag racing. So it's no surprise to me that, tempers flare and emotions.
And how hard these guys
crazy.
fight for every ounce of performance in pro stock. I think that has something to do with it too. That you don't just wake up and find horsepower. I mean, these guys work for years to find any gains that they get. And I think that's what we've seen out of the KB deal over the last, second half of last year, and then continued into this year, is just that, nose to the grindstone paying off. And we're just starting to see that turn. And then Elite kind of fighting their way back. We saw Erica go to the finals the previous race, and then to see it play out like it did in Bristol. I think all that really contributed to it coming to a head in Bristol.
And there's no doubt, guys. And I'd say now is as good a time as any to bring on our first guest of the day, who is on an absolutely incredible hot streak. 4 wins in 6 final rounds. Phoenix, Pomona, Epping, and Bristol this past weekend. Final round appearances as well in Gainesville, Vegas, and Charlotte. Currently leading the points headed into Norwalk, reset the national ET record early in the year, and just became the second pro driver in NHRA drag racing history to reach 1,000 round wins with his victory over
1,000
David Quadra in the semifinals at Thunder Valley. And he capped it off with win number 110. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the man of the hour, Mr. 1000, Greg Anderson.
What's up?
What's up, GA?
Hi, guys.
What's going on, Greg?
Congrats, man.
You having a good day?
So far,
Yeah.
so good, man. It's early, plenty of time for things to go to hell. But so far, so good, man. How about yourself? Have you been? I mean, honestly, I've got so many places I want to go with this, Greg. But I've known you for a long time. You may not even know this, but I actually met you in the late 90s. My dad and David Janes were pitted next to you guys when you were just making your start in NHRA Pro Stock. You'd gone out on your own. We're going to form your own team. And I'd like to tell people this story because it makes me feel guilty by association. But at the end of the weekend, you didn't look much different than us. Confused. What do we do?
Exactly.
And it's like, it was one of the time, like, hey, man, at that time, Greg was just like us. No idea what just happened.
The paths have diverged a little bit.
That wants to come drive with me anymore, and they go out, they try the first couple hits, and they're like, man, this is tougher than I thought. I'll never get this. I tell them, you have no idea what I looked like back when I started. Oh, there's no way. I'm telling you, it was ugly.
I mean, and I think that it's important. I don't know that we can really frame 1,000 round wins or 110 race wins. Greg, I've had this conversation with you offline, like just how surreal it must be to have your name mentioned in the same breath as John Force's. But I don't know
only
that
2 mentioned in that breath. I
The
mean, that's
only
what's
two.
so impressive. The only 2 that are in that rare air. I think that's probably, I mean, Greg, would you say that 1,000 wins and being there with John, is that as impressive, if not more so, than anything else you've done in your career?
I think it is, Mike. And honestly, a couple, 3 weeks ago, I didn't know anything about it. I had no earthly idea that the number was anywhere near that. I think Elon Warner told me, you realize you're getting close to 1,000 round wins. I'm like, what? 1,000? You're kidding me, right? But it was true. And I guess that's good because I didn't have much time to think about it. And I think when he finally told me it was right before Bristol or right before Epping, and Epping obviously and Bristol went by like so fast you couldn't even keep track of it, and they went absolutely perfectly my way. And I told everybody before, every time I got close to making some big milestone or whatever, the 50th race win or the 75th or the number 100, I stalled out every single time and I couldn't get it done. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to sweat. You're supposed to really have to work for it. So I figured the same thing was going to happen with this 1,000 round deal, and it went bang, bang, just like that in 2 races in a row. So pretty crazy deal. And now it's in the books and we can worry about something else. But I've told you before, I don't necessarily worry about things like that. I live for every race I go to. I live for that weekend, for that race, to try to win that race. So it's fantastic that, these numbers are getting up there and they're cool numbers. And when I pull out of this deal and stop doing it, which is probably too much longer, then it'll probably be cooler to me than it is now. But right now, I'm just worried about that next win, that next race win, because you just never know when your last race win is going to be your last race win.
Well, and like as they always say, you're only as good as your last outing. And right now you're looking pretty damn good, Greg. But I do want to go back. I mean, I was doing some research this morning, and between your debut in 1998 and your first win in Bristol in 2001, that's 1,200 days, over 3 years. And I just was curious if you could kind of just riff on that early challenge and, maybe give us a little insight of like what life was like for you as an aspiring pro stock racer. I mean, because you look around the pits right now and there are several people, young men and women, that are attempting to do what you did. Yeah, and when you look back on that, I mean, what do you make of that early grind? Because I feel like you really showed some resilience.
Well, first of all, Wes, my memory's so poor at this age, I can hardly remember. But what I do remember is I struggled. I mean, I struggled hard. I certainly didn't have the equipment that these young kids have now when they come in. That's the main difference that we have nowadays compared to back when I did it. And before that, if you were starting out at it and you were trying to get your feet wet in pro stock, you usually didn't have much for equipment. You certainly didn't have a great engine. You had a car that you worked on yourself or built yourself, or it was a 5-time hand-me-down from somebody else. My first car was a car that Warren had and raced years and years before that. It was an old Cutlass that he had retired, So the equipment's completely different compared to what these younger guys can come in with now and start with. I mean, every one of these cats that's racing right now in this class that's, 30 years or younger, they have the same engine that I have, the same engine that Erica Enders has. They have the same race car that myself and Erica have, and they're 25, 30 years old. That's a hell of a combination, and you just didn't have that back when I started. You were clawing and scratching, just hoping to qualify at a race is what it came down to. And when I first won that first race in Bristol, I felt like everybody else. It was a long time, but I had no expectations of winning, and neither did anybody else. And when I did finally win there, they're like, well, he'll be one and done. And I believed that. I felt the same way. And somehow it just it came together, and I got together with the right people, got lucky as anyone in the world, and met Ken Black. And that's where it all started for me, because when I was able to form that team, I was able to hire all the people that I really had paid attention to over the last 5 years racing against. And I went out and tried to attract those people, the Rob Downings, the people that had talent that I thought that could do the things I couldn't do. Because you're honestly really only good at 1 or 2 things in life. And I tried to decide what was I worth the darn at and hire somebody else to do the rest of the stuff. So that's what I did, and got lucky to get the people that I sought after. And we kind of basically made a slow climb, or whatever you want to call it, right to the top. And it's been a great run ever since. But, it all started with that connection with Ken Black.
I've noticed this, and we actually talked about this the last time we had you on the show, which actually wasn't that long ago, but you seem to have really embraced what you're talking about, that building a team around you. You've got incredible crew, several tuners making decisions, Dave Connolly, you've got these great drivers, Jim Whiteley, Eric Latino in the mix now. Like you really have leaned into that. And I thought it's been cool to see you so forward with that. Is that kind of like the new era of Greg Anderson? Like as you move forward, you recognize that that's going to be more and more of your role is being the glue guy.
Absolutely, positively. That's what I'm the most proud of. I've said it a million times. I'm the most proud of the team that I've been able to assemble and become a part of and add to. And yes, it got nothing but better when we merged with the Titan group over there, and Jim Whiteley and Eric Latino. When we merged with them, maybe at first it was a little bit tense, but ever since then, it's like all the egos went out the door, and all these great employees that we brought over here, they joined in and like I say, we all flushed our egos down the toilet. We all work together well. We don't argue. We don't fight. We work lights out. Everybody's as stupid as I am. They want to work like fools, and the results show. It's I don't know, that whole deal of hard work. Obviously everybody works hard in the class, and I'll be the first to admit it. I see life as you kind of get born with either a big brain or the willingness to work. And I didn't get a big brain, so I have no other option. I have to work, and that's what I've done all my life. I am not afraid one bit to work, and I've never met anyone yet that's failed at anything they do if they want to work harder than the other guys. So no matter what it is, what occupation it is. So that's the only option I have, and that's the horse I got to ride. But so far it's been a good ride, and it's still going. I learned from that, surround yourself with people with big brains. You know what I mean? I'll do the work. Surround yourself with people with big brains, and you can probably go somewhere.
That's 100% what I've done. I mean, look at that dome on Mike here. I mean,
what do you think's behind that, man?
There's a lot of brain in there, and that's why he's here. He's the brains. Yep. And I'm curious, when you look back at your career, and I know you don't do a lot of this, but you've had some real heaters in your day. I mean, 67 round wins in 2003, 64 round wins in 2016. So you've been in these dominant positions. Does 2025 feel any different than those runs you had alongside Jason Line?
Honestly, it's been a shock to me, because I as the years go by, the class, I know it sounds like a cliche, but the class does get harder every year to win in. There's more talent. It's deeper than it's ever been. It's harder to win. The cats are younger than they used to be, in great equipment, so it's harder to win than ever. So never really believed that we could get on a run like we did back in the heyday, the 2003 to 6, and through those years. Never thought that could happen. But, and I'm not even saying that it's happening now, but at least for the first quarter of the year, that's what's happening. So it's been a little bit of a shock to us, but I keep telling people, you got to ride that wave when it's up there. And right now, for whatever reason, the wave is up, and we're riding it well. We're doing a good job with it. We haven't fell off the surfboard. And I want to try and keep it going as long as we can, because you don't know what next week brings. You have no earthly idea what can happen. And, somebody's going to stumble onto a widget that all of a sudden they're going to be king. That's just the way this class is. Nobody sleeps. Nobody gives up. Nobody quits. They all work hard at it. There's a lot of passion in this class. Obviously, you saw some of that passion explode over, up at Bristol. So that's just what the class is all about. Everybody wants to win that bad, and they all work that hard that, man, when something like this happens, if you're on the other side of it, it's tough to take. And I've been on the other side of it. I know exactly how they feel, but I've been on this side. I've been on the other side. So I know how it is. But what I do know is nobody quits in this class. And this run we're on, you'd like to think it can go on forever, but I know better. It's not going to. But you try your hardest to keep it going as long as you can. That guy whoever made that saying up, you can't win them all. I still say I'd like to punch the guy in the nose, because I hate that saying, but he's right. He's absolutely right, and that's just the way it is.
Do you feel, we spent the first 30 minutes of the show today, Greg, just talking about the dust up in Bristol. I wrote an opinionated editorial about it this morning, because these things are hyper polarizing, and you see a big swell of all these opinions like, oh my gosh, we don't need that. But I would argue that emotion, even when it overflows like that, is a great thing for our sport, because I think we need the fans in the stands and the people watching on television or via a live stream, what have you. That's a demonstration of the competitiveness. It's a demonstration of the passion. And obviously it can go too far. I mean, I know some off the record conversations that there's already been efforts on both camps to try to, on both sides, your side and Elite Motorsports side, to cool things down a little bit. But would you agree with our belief that these are the type of things that, honestly, we mentioned it earlier, a bench clearing brawl in Major League Baseball is viral. It's all over. It's on every sports center, every broadcast. It's being talked about. If Patrick Mahomes snubs the competing quarterback, in a post-game handshake thing, it's big news. It seems to be celebrated and embraced. But we have we seem to be up on our high horse in drag racing a little bit, sometimes failing to realize that these are real people that are working their ever-loving ass off to be successful. And humans going to human. I mean, what's your stance on it, like looking back now?
Well, obviously, it's like you say, it's the passion overflowing, and when one team continues to go on a heater and win, the other teams get completely frustrated. And I've seen that going all year. And I keep saying this, the other teams are not that far behind, but when things go as right as they've gone for us and you go on a string like this, the other teams start making moves they shouldn't make. And then they get in a deeper hole. So it's kind of a snowball effect. And I have absolutely been on that side of the fence, and I will be again, guaranteed. So it's a crazy, crazy deal, but it's just the passion. Everybody in this class, I don't know that there's another class out there like this. This is a unique deal. And my new team owner with Eric Latino and Jim Whiteley, it's taken them, they've been owners of the team almost 2 years now, and it's really taken them about till now to understand that this class is absolutely way different than anything they've ever been involved with before. It is. It just is. Yeah, and I don't know how to explain that, but everybody is so into it. You work so hard, and everything's so important. It's just a crazy deal. So, that stuff's going to happen. You try to not to. You try to be a politician, whatever you want to call it, because that's what your sponsors expect. And I try to do a good job. We've been on heaters like this before, Wes, and even back when I worked with Warren Johnson, we've been on heaters like that. And anytime you go on a heat like that, you get accused of cheating. That's the number one big word, right? They got to be cheating. They got to be cheating. And to the flip side of that, I've been on the other side where I've been getting my teeth kicked in. And I think like that. That's just how you think. We work so hard at this. How could we be getting beat like this? So it's just what you go to, and it's a hard thing to stay away from. It just, sometimes it gets a little bit out of hand, and it probably got a little bit out of hand this weekend. I can handle people telling me all the time, you must be cheating. You're a cheater, right? I've gotten used to it for all these years, and I've gotten thick-skinned, and it doesn't affect me personally anymore, right? Because I've heard it forever. But, when things get said to your crew members and your family members, they take it a little more personal. That's what you saw happen this weekend. Things got said on the starting line to some of our crew members and family members, and they snapped. They weren't politicians like you're supposed to be, and they snapped. But I'm all right with that. I'm 100% all right with that. And nobody got hurt. And I think it was it just shows the passion overflowing. So
yeah, and as a result,
everybody has to remember when you get into a position like that, instead of maybe screaming and yelling across pit areas or across starting lines or whatever, you're cheating or whatever. NHRA has this deal, and I remember it from all the years with Warren Johnson. If someone really feels there's something Chinese with my operation or whatever, you have all the right in the world to put your money where your mouth is, protest anything you want on that race car, have everything on that race car tore down, but you have to put your money up to do it. So that's, in my opinion, how you handle these things. But so I don't think it was quite handled right, but that's what I've seen how it gets handled in the past, and I'm fully welcome to that. We're the ones that asked for the tech department to get more involved, so we're getting what we asked for right now. So,
and I think that's something that NHRA needs to take seriously.
Yeah, yesterday with the penalty and fine yesterday. We haven't seen that in a long, long time. So that's going to open a lot of people's eyes and absolutely make everybody 100% believe now better not mess around, because these guys are for real. So we asked for it. We asked the technical department to be more serious, get involved, and now we're getting what we asked for. So we really can't complain about that.
Agreed.
Want everybody to play by the rules, what you all want. I'll get tempted, but you all got to play by the rules.
We were going to ask you about that, about the fine and the point deduction. Did the crime fit or did the punishment fit the crime? And I mean, I think you kind of just answered right there that it's a result of NHRA possibly putting forth a new effort to be more involved in something that you guys have been asking for. But we don't see the protest anymore. Wes and I have talked about that a lot. We've always heard about the protest, put your money down, and you can have anyone you want torn down or specify a specific
That's how it used
you
to be
think
back
is
in
a
the
problem.
day. I don't know what's changed over time, but that doesn't seem to happen anymore. So I guess that's
I was going to ask you why we don't see that.
that's a correction right there. That's a correction we all need. You need to realize that there's going to be a penalty if you cheat. That's the way it should be. And probably for a lot of years, we all got a little lax at that and thought, well, nothing's going to happen anyway if you try and do something. So, I think it's a new deal, and no doubt, I don't honestly know what went on over there, if that was a real infraction or not. I have no earthly idea. That's up to the tech department, but obviously they thought it was, and they're making an example, and they'll do it again if they find another thing to me or anybody else if they find anything. So we know that now. We absolutely know that 100%. You better stay in line or you're going to get penalized, and that's a bad day.
I think it's important because I really go back to COVID. I think context matters in all these things, and every business virtually on the planet was dealing with some nuances based on COVID. And I think some turnover took place within the NHRA, and they had to let some people go, and they had to make some tough decisions. And I think it took a while for them to rebound from that in a staffing capacity. And this is probably the result of kind of getting the tech team back to, up to full speed, if you will. And I'm here for it. To be honest, I do think that consistency, that type of thing is going to be important. And now they're going to feel the pressure, I think, to be consistent and, if they have to do this again or they have to make tough decisions, they're going to have to act as swiftly as they did here because an example or a precedent has certainly been set. But I go back to your point and about emotions spilling over in the 1979 Daytona 500. I don't know that anybody remembers that Richard Petty won it, but they remember Cale Yarborough and the Allisons fighting in the infield. And that basically a lot of people point to that as what put NASCAR on the map. I mean, they were anticipating like 3 million people watching the race, and over 6 million people ended up watching it specifically because they heard about this fight that was taking place at the races. And again, I don't know that we don't need people hitting each other with helmets. We don't need fist fights, but I don't think it's an ultimately bad thing for those emotions to spill over, and the fans in the stands get to see just how serious you guys and gals take this.
We
stuff.
probably not talk about pro stock more than
for the fans to see the emotion that spills over there. Now they know how serious we all are about winning, about racing, and how good we feel about what we're doing on our own race team and how proud we are. So that's all good. I'm good with all that. Yeah, I know we can't go up there and be WWE, but certainly not me. I'm too old. But is it all bad? Probably not.
No, I definitely don't think it's all bad. Moving kind of on, I guess, a little bit. I mean, how much of a one of the things that I have kind of heard talked about amongst fans and felt even myself is that these early races, as significant as they are in many ways, and this is one of the things that we become desensitized to when we talk about this sport every day and operate in this sport every day. But to your earlier point, there's plenty of pro stock guys that are only going to win one race, in their whole careers, like maybe only qualify one time. So all these races have considerable significance. But on the grand scale or in the grand scheme of things, what happens early in the year, we get into the dog days of summer, we roll up to the countdown, and it's a little bit of a fresh slate. So I'm curious, like, what kind of pressure are you putting on yourself to maintain this? Because we hear a lot of racers talk about peaking at the right time. And I'm just curious if there's any like concern for you or thoughts running through your head about, okay, this is great, and we obviously want to win. We wanted to win 1,000. We wanted to win 110. But how do we maintain this come September, October, November?
Yeah, there's obviously concern. There's always concern. You don't want to flame out too early, without a doubt. But as I said before, I go to every race considering every race just as important to try to win that race. And this year, we have something new that we didn't have in past years. Ever since we went to the playoff scenario, that regular season winner, race winner, or points winner gets awarded nothing, and he may not go on to win the championship. It happens more often than not. So this year we have a bonus on the line for the regular season champion. So we looked at that when we started the season and thought, man, guys, it'd be nice to really try and get off to a good start this year, because it's a substantial amount of money to win the regular season this year. So that's a new deal this year, and that's been on our minds and to get a good start. And we're certainly off to a better start than we could have ever imagined, but that's part of it. But yes, still the big picture is to make sure when it comes playoff time, you're not only as good as you are going in, you find a way to get better. That's what it comes down to, because usually the playoffs, everybody ratchets up, steps up their game, and it's a new deal. You better have something special.
Oh, be there, no doubt, man. I mean, I think that this regular season championship, personally, perhaps long overdue. I mean, this is something that, to your point, we need some significance around this. Another, I mean, I know it sounds simple, but these things are important. Another winner's circle video, another photo of you in a jacket holding a big ass trophy or whomever it is. Those things are important. I mean, it's you can use those things to engage fans. You can use those things to engage your sponsors, and it's just creating another storyline.
Yeah,
right?
I don't
And
like
that's
to.
what
I
we
don't
need.
like to hear the talk that well, this race doesn't release these preseason races, whatever you want to call them. They don't mean
Don't
that much
matter.
as long as you make the top 10. Well, they do mean that much to me to win the races, and now to win the regular season bonus. That's, to me, it means a lot. That's very important to me.
Before Greg leaves today, can you please ask him to do the roar? Okay, well, we'll save that towards the end. We got about 10 more minutes with
He's got to
Greg.
work up to it.
Yeah, he's got to work up to it. It's
You can probably only really dig down that deep and get that to come out after a race win, right?
Yeah.
You got to be fired up.
It doesn't come natural, no.
no, I can't imagine.
Not
it
really a
does.
showman. That does not really come natural, no.
I would say you are, man. You're underrated. We talk about that. You come on the show and your top end interviews,
you're
the
funny.
roar, is part of it as well. That underrated showman.
I think you are an underrated showman. I think you're also like an underrated fan favorite. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, just talk about that. I mean, coming from, humble beginnings, Minnesota, working on this stuff, being a mechanic, learning the trade, to be here in 2025 as a superstar talent in drag racing, multi-time champion. I mean, is it surreal at all to have these kids come up and want your autograph, or have people come up and want photos with Greg Anderson?
It is. It's kind of crazy to me, and I don't quite understand what the fascination is, to be honest with you. I'm nothing special. And right before I got on the show with you guys, I did a Zoom call with a Duluth, Minnesota TV station. I grew up in Duluth, right? And the girl is like, we're all just so proud of you up here, And I'm like, really? You even know what I do? It's like, me? I was shocked, right? She's like, man, we're going to be so proud when you come back to Brainerd. We want to make a big deal about it. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I don't feel that way. I don't think I'm anything special. I'm a lucky man. I get to do what I love to do. My job is my passion, my love. So it's not even a job. So I'm just pretty damn lucky. I'm nothing special. I'm just a lucky guy that gets to do a job that he loves.
Well, hey, we feel the same way. I often say that to myself, is that I'm like so blessed to get to call drag racing my livelihood, right?
Yeah.
My business is in drag racing, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that this would ever be the case. I'm curious, in the 30 almost years of drag racing, you've raced against like some of the best to ever do it, and many of which are still in the game right now. Jeg Coughlin Jr., Erica Enders, Dave Connolly, all these different. Was there anybody that has pushed you harder? I'm sure the Elite Camp and Erica, that has been an ongoing storyline, but there are others that you have competed against, Mike Edwards, Warren Johnson, etc. Was there anybody that really pushed you more so than another?
They all have, and it's kind of funny. So Dave Conley is certainly one of them. We locked horns many, many times, and he wore me. I feel like he wore me out, right? Jeg Coughlin and I have raced forever, and I feel like he has worn me out way more than I ever have him. Mike Edwards, respected the heck out of that guy. What a hell of a racer, right? The list just goes on and on. So it's like there's a different one. Every couple of years, there's a different one. And somehow, I don't know, I'm still here. Don't ask me how, but I'm still here. But it went through all these eras with all these badasses. And I feel like they all just wore me out, to be honest with you. And I honestly believe they were just way better racers than I was, way better drivers than I ever was. I never set out to be a driver, Wes. I was a mechanic. I wanted to be a crew guy, a crew chief, right? It just happened by accident one day when Warren sent Kurt and I to Roy Hill School to learn how to get inside a car, so we'd stop yelling at him about how he drives. That's how it all started. I had no plan of being a driver. And now through all these years of driving, I don't consider myself this great driver, pure driver, but I do a decent job, and somehow I'm able to relay enough feedback to the guys of what I feel in the car that they can make the car better. And I still work every day on the engines here at the shop to make, give me a chance to win. And I tell everybody, I'm a realist. I'm not a teen or a 00 guy. On a best day, I'm a 20, but on normal days, I'm a 30, 40, 50, right? So really, I have to find a way to make my damn race car faster than everybody else. I'm probably not going to win many races. And this year, for whatever reason, I've had a small advantage on everybody. And that's why I've been able to win. I've been able to stay close enough on that light, a couple hundredths or whatever, to get it done sometimes. And that's why I'm just a realist. That's me. I'm not Jay Coughlin. I'm not going to go out there and be 0014 every time. And Dallas Glenn, I'm not that guy. I know what I am. I got to have a great engine under the hood, and I got to have a great car underneath me, and I got to drive it well. And that becomes tougher every day for me. And we had a month off before Epping, and I got to Epping, and it's like the first 3-4 runs, I had completely forgot how to drive. I was terrible. I was absolutely horrible behind the wheel, and we struggled. And finally, by Sunday, I was able to focus enough to shift the car properly, and it ran well. So it just all goes into it. And the longer I do it, honestly, the harder it gets, Wes, and there's more in your mind all the time, and there's more things to think about, and just not as sharp as I used to be. I'm not going to lie, but if I got a car that runs like it runs right now, I still got a chance.
We've talked about like the workload that is managing all these race cars. Cause you see the same things we see on social media, that it's, 2 teams, red team and blue team and blah, 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 blah. Nobody else has a chance, but these things change, they ebb and flow. And we've seen guys kind of sneak in and make a statement but it has become very, much so about KB Titan versus Elite Motorsports. And I'm just curious, you're talking about all these different things in your head. I see these teams constantly at outlaw drag races and grassroots events week in and week out when they start to get too much on their plate, not even from a workload standpoint, but more so from just managing it and keeping all these cars competitive. Can you just talk about the brain trust that you've put together to keep all these cars competitive? Because like you said, you're definitely running well, but your entire team is enjoying a career start to 2025.
They are. And I guess I've learned over the years not to micromanage, do what you think you're good at and let the guys you hired do their job that they're good at. And I do that. I let Rob Downing and Dave Conley handle everything on the race car. I let some of my key engine guys handle some of the important decisions on the engine. I'm certainly involved, but I don't tell everybody this is how it's going to be. I want it this way. That's how. I don't do that. We do things by committee here, without a doubt. And if all of us don't agree on something, then we don't do it. It's not like a dictatorship or anything like that. So yeah, I've learned to designate or delegate, whatever you want to call it, and not micromanage. And that's worked out good for me because of the quality people that I've surrounded myself with. If I didn't have the quality people, then that'd be hard to do, but I do. And, get on your own way. Sometimes you just got to get out of your own way, do what you're good at. And there's still things that I can do very well, but it's it's a tenth of the pie here at the most. So just the way it is.
Understood. Well, so we're a couple of weeks away from Norwalk. What is the between the races look like right now for you guys? Because we're not doing any testing probably over at Mooresville. You don't want to scream. I mean, you got things lined out. So what's the kind of the look like between a couple of races here?
Well, see, when you get to the point where we're trying to run like 7 cars a weekend, every week you get off, it's like every engine's got to get inspected, looked at, checked over. It takes every minute of the day we have. So that's what's going to happen for the next 2 weeks. We'll be just basically going over every engine that's been running the last couple of weeks, make sure they're not getting ready to blow up or something go wrong, or rebuilding the ones that are due to be rebuilt. That's just constant. So that's what we do most every day, most every hour. Summit, they're up there at Norwalk. That's their racetrack. All the employees are there. We go to their store on Wednesday and do a big open house. It's probably, to me, the most important race I race of the year. I really want to shine in front of those guys. They've done so much for me for all my career and still do, that I really want to shine when I go up there. So we want the best product we've had all year long when we go there. Of all races, you don't want to step on your toe up there, and we did last year. So I got to make up for last year. It was a first round defeat last year, and I just don't want that to happen again. So prepare. All these races, I keep saying, they're won or lost at the shop. If you leave the shop without a great product, you're probably going to have a long weekend. So we want to leave this shop with the best product we can.
No doubt. So
no days off. No days off at KB, even though there's no Pro Stock Virginia.
Well, I got a problem with that. So my wife's birthday is Friday, and I got to do something.
You got to get at least one day.
I got to do something. So.
But hey, here in Charlotte now with the Hendrick Cars sponsorship, you've got Mr. Hendrick coming out to the events, and this seems like a long-term deal at the point. I know when it kind of first came about, I think the Summit deal happened relatively quickly, and that was they jumped in and were on the car and have never left. So what's that been like, having Mr. Hendrick involved and sort of everything he's got going on, and just the success you've had really since you've had that look on the car, and where can we see things going with that in the future? Are they here for the long term?
Well, I certainly hope and pray they are. I do the best job I can every day to keep them all involved and keep them happy. He's having a ball with it. He's absolutely having a blast with it. He stays in tune with it. He knows all that's going on. And obviously, the phone call the other night was, "Hey, great job with the win, but tell me about what the heck happened, okay, on the starting line. What's going on?"
That's awesome to hear.
He's into it, man. He's watching every bit of it. He's into it. He wants to know. He's having a ball with it, but make no mistake, he likes to win. So I just trying to do everything I can under my power to try and put a good product out there and make him proud, because if we don't win, I'm not so sure he's involved. He loves trophies. He absolutely loves trophies. And if you stop bringing him trophies, he's probably not going to be involved. But right now it's going great. I love the man. He's a fantastic guy. His shop, all his guys that run his shop, even Jeff Gordon has taken a hell of an interest in this sport and been watching lately. And Jeff Andrews and Scott Maxim, all the head guys over there, they're fully involved. They watch every minute of it, and they offer anything they can. And we really haven't tried to lean that hard into, taking anything from them or doing any kind of, special project with them, but their door is always open too. They offer all the time. So I want to keep that door open as much as we can. And they've certainly done things in the past to help us out, but they offer all the time to do more. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great relationship. And I hope it goes certainly as long as I drive a race car.
What do you make of the influx of some interest from other walks of the motorsports life and drag racing right now? It feels like we're having something of a high tide moment. I mean, we've saw obviously the arrival of Tony Stewart and how celebrated that has been. It's been fantastic to see him having some really considerable success still early in his career, but seeing more of these NASCAR or IndyCar drivers showing up at the track, having involvement in cars, it feels like a really positive thing for these people that have been laser focused on their niche within a niche that is their motorsport of choice, taking some interest in drag racing.
Well, obviously, I think that's great, and it's true. It's absolutely true. So I know for a fact all these guys in the Hendrick trailer, when they have a down minute or whatever, whether it's Saturday or whatever it is at the race, they're watching us. Just like we're watching them. We got the TV on in our lounge. We're watching them on Sunday. You know what I mean? Every call that Mr. H makes to me on Sunday afternoon after the race, how did Tony do today? How did Tony Stewart do today? So he's very involved. He loves it. And there's certainly, I think, going to be more changeover. I'm going to do the damnedest I can to get Kyle Larson in my car and at least let him try it. He's kind of funny because a couple of times I've asked him in the past, and he's like, I'm not even 50 yet. Don't you have to be like 50 to do that? A little bit of a smart ass, okay, but I like that. It's pretty cool. But I'm going to keep trying. One of these days, we're going to get him in there. And there's a lot of attention paid to it. It's a different deal to them, just like they're a different deal to us. And we all like to watch everybody else do what they do. You know what I mean? The guys that are good at it. You like to watch guys and girls that are good at what they do. Whatever sport it is, you like to watch that. So a lot of changeover, and I think it's cool for drag racing. And I do think it's going to get more so that way as we go forward.
And I honestly think, like, as much as Kyle was obviously being a smartass about the 50 comment, I had this conversation with Randy Couture, the UFC fighter that's kind of retired UFC Hall of Famer that's staring down the barrel of going pro modified racing. I know that one of the kind of things that the knocks on our sport has been that there's a lot of older guys and gals that are involved in this, but I would argue that it's part of the incredible accessibility that exists in drag racing. I mean, I look around the pits right now, I see every race, creed, color represented. I see young people, middle-aged people, older guys and gals. I mean, and they're all able to go out and compete on a level playing field. I mean, I would love to see some of these guys that, like, maybe are in the twilight of their NASCAR career or twilight of their IndyCar career, where maybe it is perhaps more taxing on them physically over the course of a 500-lap race or what have you, go, you know what? I can still go and compete at a high level, race against world-class competition, be part of the conversation, and I can do it till I'm 50, 60, 70 years old pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and it's not like you have to be over 50. We still have guys 18 to 25, 30 years old, a ton of them out there, girls and guys, right? So we got it all. It's just the beauty of the sport is you can do it into your older years, whatever you want to call it, right? Our shelf life is longer than theirs. And is that because it's not as physical a sport? I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea, but it's definitely got a longer shelf life than really all the other motorsports and certainly the stick and ball sports. So I think that's what's cool about the sport.
I do too. I mean, like if you think about, I'm always making MMA and UFC analogies and comparisons, but I mean, I can't imagine what the UFC would look like if they still had some of their Titan legends from the 90s and early 2000s still competing at a high level against this new crop of fighters. And we're able to do that every single weekend in drag racing. Sometimes I feel like people point these things out as like an Achilles heel for our sport when we should flip the script and go, you know what, this is actually a sales point. Yeah, this is actually something we should be promoting.
That's what's great of it. We got both. We got the older generation, the mid, and the young. We got it all. So if we just had all the new young guns, it'd be cool, but maybe not as cool as having the young guns and the old guys, the old geezers, locking horns. As long as everybody's still competitive, it's great. You know what I mean?
That's truly what makes it. That's what makes it unique. And the fact that you've raced against all these different eras. We were talking about Warren Johnson. We were talking about the 2000s, now into the 2010s. Same thing for John Force, who we're putting you in that same category now because you're the only two with 1,000 wins and 1,000 round wins. And you're right behind him in race wins. You're second to him in total race wins in NHRA history also. So it's having to race against those different eras, I think puts you in that legend Mount Rushmore category, no matter what your category is. To me, drag racing has that unique aspect that guys can race against all those different eras across time. And to me, that's what it takes to reach that level. So if guys are only race in their era and we can't compare them against competitors from other eras, it's a little bit harder to do. But we can compare John Force against the greatest of his era here. We can compare you against the greatest of this era. So it's a really cool deal that only exists in drag racing.
Yeah, and it's been kind of fun, this year, especially with Dave Conley coming back and racing. Been a lot of years since I got to race with him. Greg Stanfield coming back, and been a lot of years since I've been able to race with him. And I'm telling you, we went at it hard back in the day. And Jay Coughlin, he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. He's back again. He still drives the wheels off of that car. It's really cool when you get to race them. I don't get me wrong, I love racing the new young generation, but I love the fact of being able to race some of the old nemesis is also that's fun too. It's memory lane. Bring back the memories.
No, I couldn't agree more. I love seeing it. And I think it's something that we have historically seen as something that we should downplay or not talk about, but I feel it's here to be embraced. And again, a demonstration of the diversity and accessibility that drag racing provides. It's, I think it is the gateway to motorsports in most regards. And it's no doubt in my mind that our sport's in a really good place right now. Greg, man, thank you so much for taking some time on a busy Wednesday afternoon to shoot the breeze with us. We surely appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you guys, man. It's been a whirlwind year. It's been a great year, but a lot of stuff happening. Plenty to talk about, I guess. So thanks for having me on. I hope I haven't offended anybody or anything. I try to be as real as I can and tell it as I see it. But, everybody's got their opinions. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of the whole deal. It should calm down, hopefully, by the time we get to Norwalk some. But the bottom line is, as you said, there's just a ton of passion in this class. And once in a while, it spills over.
Don't calm it down too much, okay, Greg? Yeah. We got to keep that going. I don't think it's
going to calm down that much, to be honest with you.
Well, because that's the thing is this is a real, this is a real meaningful rivalry. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, this is, I've experienced, I remember when I first started consistently going to NHRA races, early in my career, I would bounce into a few, and when we first started the magazine, we were trying to cover a lot of ground, but there were several years that I was going to damn near every NHRA race. And I remember coming home and telling friends and family, there's real tension there between those groups. In the staging lanes, you feel it. In the water box, you feel it. In the pits, you feel it. And I think it's a fantastic thing. And I think that's kind of felt across the board by a lot of people that matter, is that this isn't something that we should shy away from. It's something that we should embrace. And like you said, you could very well be on the other side of it. It happens fast.
Yep, sure does. Absolutely. And as you said, it's just real. It's not an act. It's just people's real thoughts and real emotions coming out. So, that's real.
It's real. Well, Greg, we love it. Real knows real, and we surely appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Congrats again on a history-making weekend and a buzz, a real stirred shit up, Greg. We appreciate it, man. We like it. We appreciate it a bunch. Keep after it, and we'll see you in Norwalk, all right?
All right. Thanks, guys. See you in Norwalk.
Greg Anderson, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, guys. Well, let me take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com today and make sure you tell them we sent you. Mike, what do you make of it? It was great I was curious if he would lean into it or talk about it really at all. The dust up, the scuffle in Bristol, the blow up in Bristol, as it will soon be known.
That's what we're naming it. It's going to be
the blow up in
officially
Bristol.
named Blow Up in Bristol.
Or the Bristol blow up.
The Bristol blow up. Yeah, a little shorter.
A little shorter, the Bristol blow up. But no, man, I'm here for it. Like I said, I don't want to see it really wane at all between races. I would like to see, I had some conversations yesterday. I know there was some effort being made to like, hey, let's pour some cold water on this. Let's get everybody to calm down. But I don't know that it's really worked.
Yeah. When's the last time we were talking this much about Pro Stock? I mean, we talk about it a lot. We love Pro Stock. We're kind of born and bred around that type of racing, but to the mainstream, to the people that show up to only watch Top Fuel and Funny Car, usually this kind of thing, I think, draws them to it a little bit more. And when you let them know, hey, this is some of the backstory, this is some of what led to this, and this is what you can expect going forward from these two camps. It's not just Pro Camaro. I mean, when you look at it on the track, and they're all these cars are very similar, and they're, you know, winning by such close margins. All the ETs are so tight. The fields are so tight. What differentiates it other than when a female like Erica jumps out of the top end and, oh, that's who was driving that car, or someone like Greg, or, you know, some of the young guns? Give these people something to latch onto. And I think that this is the perfect type of thing to pick your side and ride and see how it plays out the rest of the year or into next year. Because even Greg, I mean, despite how dominant they've been this year, he's the first one to admit it can change in a heartbeat, and that he's been in the same position. He's been in this position of dominance numerous times, and he's been on the other side of the fence numerous times also. This thing is a wave going up and down, and you just got to, like, if you just tune in to watch one race and you just single it out for that one event, you're not seeing all of the legacy and history that is behind Pro Stock, and that leads to a moment like what we saw in Bristol.
The Bristol blow up.
The Bristol blow up.
I like it, man. It's I think we need more of it. And it's really just the intensity and the emotion. Like, if you look at all the things that are booming, I mean, and really our guests for a little later in the show, Jimmy Dale and Poland, I mean, they have leaned in to kind of the rough edge that their particular brand of racing has. And I think those things are important. And I think the NHRA's seemingly newfound interest in really holding these guys to a high standard. I think that's going to be a welcome thing. And I want to be,
that was interesting to
see more of it.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, we kind of wanted to ask, I don't know, it's a little bit unfair to ask Greg, hey, Greg, what do you think about Erica's infraction and her penalty? You're only going to get so much from him in this setting. But for him to basically say, hey, we've been asking for them to be more involved. We've been asking for tighter enforcement of the rules. You know, that it kind of makes sense now a little bit, some of this penalty. You know, if you're on the other side of it, you're never going to agree with that. But some of the, like you said, the protest thing, we talk about that here internally at Drag Illustrated. We used to hear about that a lot. We don't hear that anymore. The official formal, I'm laying down my money and I'm protesting XYZ on this car, go tear it down. We don't hear that anymore. And I wonder if it's the staffing of NHRA tech department, like you said, making sure not only it's staff, but it's got the people that are qualified to do that. I could see myself as a racer going, I'll throw down this money and I want you to tear it down. But if you do tear it down, are you going to know what to look for? And are you going to find this thing that I think is an infraction? Because you got to think about that as well. So the more they beef up that tech department, I think is a good thing, especially for Pro Stock.
Yeah, I agree.
You might see a lot more now.
Yeah.
You know, really, I mean, after that weekend, I think you will.
I think we're going to see to be honest, like for those that don't know, and there's like a bunch of, and again, I don't know if it's the place, to put Greg in some sort of awkward situation, and I didn't want to beat on it too much.
No, we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to get him on here after 1,000 wins and then let's just talk about this thing, but
right.
It was good to hear his feedback on it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, there's going to be more that comes out of this. I mean, I personally feel that, the fine and the docking of points and the $5,000 fine to me felt over the top. It felt, but again, if that's the game we're going to play, if the real challenge and the real demonstration to me will be a consistent enforcement of these rules, because there's a lot of hubbub about tires right now that I've been hearing about wide wheels in Pro Stock since the start of the season. Literally, this is something that we encountered in Pro Modified a few years ago at the first World Series of Pro Mod that we brought to Bradenton in 2023. As soon as we got cars testing, we started hearing about so-and-so's got this special set of wider wheels and so nobody else can get them. And there was this whole thing and we had to investigate this. And over the course of time, we had to, once those wheels became widely available, we had to write them into our rules because they were going to be able to use them other places or have to race against them. We needed to make sure that everybody was going to be able to get them. So I'm not really shocked, because it seems like there's some movement in the wheel space. Like there's some new players, there's some people doing things, trying things. And I think that's something that we're going to see continue to be policed. Tires. I'm hearing a lot of hubbub about tires. And it seems like in most every other motorsport, tires are more closely managed than they are in drag racing, specifically, like pro stock. And I think that's something that's going to come out in the coming months and years, that I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of tire allotment from Goodyear or tires that you're going to run or a date code. There's a lot of talk right now in the pro stock pits about teams having older tires that were better. They were manufactured before a change in the compound or manufactured before a change in the manufacturing process, that I think is very interesting. But again, I mean, is that proprietary or is that having something that no one else can get? And I don't know that we want that in the sport. I mean, there's all these stories going back in the days. I remember having conversations with David Rear about this legendary pro stock engine builder alongside Buddy Morrison and driver Bruce Allen. But they were a dominating force in drag racing, right? And they tell stories about guys buying every camshaft, every blank set of castings or whatever they could get their hands on to make it harder for their opponents and harder for their competitors. I don't know that that's the answer, right? I mean, I think everybody, if anybody has something that no one else can get, that's a problem.
Yeah, but it's kind of, we talk about this with, these other sports being so highly regulated, and there's like a closer connection between the sanctioning body and the enforcement and all that, and the administration and the teams. Whereas like in drag racing, just like anybody could show up with a brand new pro stock operation next weekend and you have no idea, where this stuff came from, what kind of stuff they've got on that. Whereas like that doesn't happen in NASCAR or F1. Like they know the teams that are, you work closely with the organization. Like we're here, we're one of your 20 teams in F1. We need our allotment of tires. We need our specs, our parts. And so there's like this closer relationship. Drag racing is kind of just Wild West. Anybody could show up and run pro stock if they meet all the requirements, but where they got their tires, how old they are, what kind of stuff they've, who built their chassis, all these things, as long as it meets SFI cert and NHRA chassis cert, they can run it. Right. So it's just like a much more loose, it's almost something you can't get your arms around with. Like we talk about it with the gambling thing as well. It makes the gambling harder, fantasy sports, all this kind of stuff, because you just really don't know week to week who's showing up with what. And you could have a completely, teched out operation, and then that same team shows up with a new car the following week or whatever. So it's like, it's a very hard thing to regulate. And I don't put that on the tech department at all, but it's certainly an interesting thing that opens eyes. And Rick Dodge from the NHRA tech department is actually here in the comments giving us a
longtime friend of Drag Illustrated, somebody I consider a good buddy and an all-around wonderful human being. And yeah, Rick's saying they're torn get down regardless of protest, performance, or records, they get teched. And I think that there's that's an important thing for fans to know, is that I've been around a lot of race teams that they kind of bitch and moan after they have a good run or set a record, because they know there's going to be a bunch of blue shirts over in their pits afterwards, yanking the heads off of it, yanking the intake off of it.
And we do that at Winter Series also. And we've gotten some complaints, but it's kind of a badge of honor when you have to do that. And the teams that really are used to that, they don't complain about it. But I mean, Rick's even been a part of some of those at some of our Winter Series events. So it's not something to be that we, that the organization should get shamed for doing. It should be a badge of honor for the teams. But I think some of the concern on the protest side would be the fact that maybe sometimes it needs to happen when a performance record wasn't broken. And in that case, if you firmly believe something's going on, but a record wasn't broken and they don't have any kind of reason to tear them down, that's when the protest comes into play. And there was this whole procedure. I don't know the actual procedure of how it works, but you go to NHRA Tech, you pay a fee, whatever that fee is. I don't even know what it is anymore. And once you pay that, then at the next available opportunity, they send a team over there to tear down the car and check that. I think they will only check that specific thing that you specify, though, right? Not the whole car. They're not tearing down the whole car. Is that right?
I think so.
And Rick may be willing to share that with us, Rick Dodge from the NHRA Tech team in the comments. To be some great insight. But I mean, I agree. There's a comment here from Scott Hurd. Having something no one else can get is not competition. I do think there's some truth to that. But at the same time, I mean, I know that these type of things are happening all the time, right? I mean, it's, I wonder if at any given point, and this is just because it's way worse back in the day, because one of the things that I get frustrated with is this constant call from the fan base about, oh, I miss the good old days. Well, if you really think about the good old days, Bob Glidden won basically every race. Lee Shepard won the ones he didn't. Warren Johnson then came in and was a dominating force. And I think we kind of look back. I mean, I'm guilty of this, looking through at drag racing past with like rose-colored glasses is, yeah, it was great that those guys were badasses and they did everything themselves and they're thinking outside of the box and they're trying stuff. But they were also so dominant, nobody else really had a chance because all those guys had resources, access to parts or people that nobody else could get or could afford, right? And I think that this day and age we're in right now, it's a great time in drag racing because the pathway to success is not an absolute impossibility. I mean, right now in NHRA Pro Stock, which has long since been known as perhaps the most competitive class in drag racing, certainly amongst the most competitive classes in drag racing, dude, you make a couple of phone calls and you got the right amount of Skrilla, you can get yourself set up for success. Now, granted, we're still going to see the men separated from the boys and the guys who can let off that pedal when they need to, all those different things, hit the shift points, and we're still going to see some separation, but at least the opportunity to be successful is there. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, Greg was talking about that, how much harder it is to compete in today's environment than in the past. But just before we wrap up the rule thing and talking about Greg saying that maybe NHRA is this is the first step to them being more present and enforcing rules harder. We saw Antron Brown had an infraction with his wing that was noted, and he was I don't know what the penalty was on his deal, but then Jordan Lazick actually lost or was his E1 victory was tossed out, and I think Stevie Jackson was put back in his place due to having a fire bottle pinned. So at least three that we know of statements were made by NHRA Tech this weekend, which I can't remember the last time we saw that many statements in one weekend about infractions.
You know, speaking of badasses, we'll probably get a couple of them on next week, but we got a couple of goofballs down here in the green room, and they're going in and out of the camera. Yeah.
Well, hey guys, let me take a second here and introduce our next two guests on the show. This is, I talked to these young men over the weekend. They're super excited. We got big news. We're working on something exciting. We slammed together a press release. They make the announcement noon on Monday that Little Gangsters is going to have its first point series, a mini point series, 4 races inside of 2 weekends, coming up at the Speed Promotions and Racing stops in Ohio and Kentucky. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Jimmy Dale and Michael Poland.
What's up, boys?
What's up,
no
guys?
claps. No claps for them.
No claps for them. Nobody.
They clap for themselves. We're gonna clap for ourselves. We're used to it.
Oh, I don't know how much or if any of you caught of the show, but I'm just curious on your take on this, Jimmy Dale. specifically, you've kind of really leaned into the rough and tumble nature of outlaw drag racing. You don't shy away from it. You'll go back and forth with somebody in the comments. You'll address things. You'll address things in person. You'll address things, on the internet or in your videos. We had a big blow up at the NHRA race in Bristol. A couple of teams going, nose to nose on the starting line.
We've been about it.
Yeah, and so I'm just curious, like, don't you think that is something that our sport needs? I mean, it feels like, I'm sure you hear this, people wanting you to set an example or be a role model for their kid, but I just feel like we need more of these high emotions in drag racing.
I'm not saying that we need more fighting. I'm just saying that I want as much passion as I can possibly get out of a drag racer. And if it comes in a fashion of two teams fighting each other hockey style, then I'm about it. You know what I mean? Because when I look at NHRA, and first off, I got something you can find hanging right here, by the way. But outside of that,
he's talking about his necklace.
Yeah. What necklace? I'm just saying, you need to see more passion in these guys, and if that's how we're going to get more passion out of these dudes, I'll take it.
The rivalry. I can't even say
rivalry.
That we need that in the sport. Like, he's been going back and forth with Lyle Martinette. He made a post just a little bit ago. If Jerry Bird gets next to 50 Shades of Brown this next weekend in Little Gangsters trim, count until your fingers bleed. Count. I don't care. Run it up as high as you can possibly run it up. The bantering and all that back and forth is much needed in the sport.
And the Jerry Bird fans are over here. He'll kick your ass. Like, okay, whatever. As long as he's money, like ass whooping if the money's right. Anyhow.
Oh my God. Well, I knew you'd have something to say about it, and I know you're about that life. So I think it's drag racing leaning into what we really are. Like, I think a lot of times as the bigger things get and the bigger sponsors and the more money and all this stuff, there feels like this kind of unspoken pressure to like button our shirts up and like be a little more polished. But this is a sport that was built on the back of a bunch of badasses and outlaws and do-it-yourselfers and gearheads. I mean, this is who we are. We're guys that are
before. It's like you get to the point where me and Poland are at right now by saying whatever you want to say to whoever you want to say it to with no filters. And then at some point you start making a living. And then you're like, well, let me chill out a little bit. Maybe I don't want to tell NHRA I got something you can find right here. Maybe I don't want to – maybe doing that is not the best thing I should do long term. And you start – tightening it up a little bit. Well, at some point you turn around and you look back and you go, man, I ain't that dude I was 2 years ago that would have just said
now you're fake.
Be said.
Yeah, and your numbers probably show that. Your numbers will reflect that. People,
the analytics
recognize real, right?
Yeah, you can see when we kind of went on the professional side of things, like tried to reel it in a little bit, and the analytics start going down. Like, we built our whole brand off, like me and Jimmy Dale talking shit back and forth to each other and flying off the handle on these people. And like, I've got some dude in my messages right now talking about he's going to sue me because he said some shit to me that was dumb. So I just posted his profile picture back to him. I said, chill out, Counts Customs. And he's like, you can't use my profile picture. Like, it is what it is. But I mean, like, World Series of Pro Mod, we wore our jerseys. We tried to look professional. Jimmy Dale's win light came on. Shirts came off. Stuff started flying. Like, it was just all hell broke loose.
Well, I think about that even with ourselves. And one of the things that Mike, JT, and I are going to talk about a little bit later in the show is, yeah, you can check. Sorry, dad duty right now.
You need to focus, dude.
I know. I got to focus. I'm on dad duty today. My wife's out of town.
If I ever get a Pro Mod ride and I win World Series of Pro Mod, I don't care what it takes. I'm turning the Pro Mod around and I'm driving it right back down to the starting line. And we're going to celebrate right then and there. We ain't getting the push bar out. We ain't doing none of that. We're going to 3-point turn that damn Pro Mod, drive it right back down the lane so everybody knows I'm the baddest man on this property.
100%. We've got to make that happen.
We've seen that happen.
I'll up off the start line after I flip this wheelchair over backwards as well. It's going to happen.
Oh, my God.
But not for me.
Well, and you do. I was just thinking about myself before Sophia walked in here. Some of the shit that I said in writing on the pages of Drag Illustrated 20 years ago is I look back at it and I'm going, whoa, I cannot believe I wrote that, printed it, and sent it to 20,000 people's mailboxes. Like, it's insane. But you're right. You start to look back and go, man, I'm not that guy anymore, but I kind of miss that guy. You know, I kind of, that's what got me to the dance. You know what I mean? Was being that guy. And that's honestly one of the reasons that we didn't want to shy away from the Bristol blow up controversy today. Cause this is something this is what's being talked about in race shops. It's what's being talked about amongst the fan base. We can't shy away from it just because it might ruffle some feathers.
We've heard it our whole life. Drama sells. I mean, drama sells. And now we're old enough to understand it and grasp that concept and all of that. Like, people love drama like that. Is it
Not me, guys. I hate it.
Oh, come on, you're big.
JT is
advocate
pretty
for
drama free,
side
to
of
be
things.
honest with you. He's
I am
just
pretty
always having a good
drama
time.
free, but I enjoy it.
He
You know,
finds his way into it. He
Oh,
finds
yeah,
his
I
way
do.
into it, and he operates on the edges, right? Like he's
Yeah.
most of the time JT will have two friends that are like fighting, and he's friends with them both. You know what I mean? And he's kind of listening to each person's side, and hey, maybe you guys should just fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
That guy that gets in the middle is usually looking for a
Hey,
fight
JT,
too.
so
I
I
mean,
was-
like,
we
you know,
were
it's like,
texting
what,
on
did you
your-
punch me? Did you push me? Yeah.
We
We
were,
can break it apart.
yeah, we were texting on your birthday. Did you get any golf in, or was just beers taken care of that day?
A little bit of both. I got thrown out of a golf cart at a high rate of speed and probably tore a rotator cuff, but I'm pushing through.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Just
need
keep
you to heal
rolling.
up for the winter
a light-
series. All right,
light
bud?
day.
It's going to be a long winter.
Yeah, light day.
Light day. Okay, guys, tell us about the Little Gangsters mini point series brought to you by Brian Tooley Racing. BTR in the house, putting up $5,000 to make this deal a reality. I know you're excited about it. Try to kind of grow participation across 4 completely different days at the track.
So BTR hit us up, and we've got an awesome relationship with BTR last year. So me and Poland, what was that last year? PRI. Anybody who hasn't been to PRI, understand that there's going to be a bunch of guys in their booths, and it's going to be very professional. They're all going to have their collars on. The boss is going to be there. They're going to be on their best behavior, trying to grow sales for the brand. And then at some point, Jimmy Dale and Poland are going to roll in your booth and start shaking dice right up in the booth. And so we're shaking dice in the booth, and then anybody who walks by, they come over like, "What are y'all doing? Hey, man, bet 20 high dice right now." We're in the BTR booth, and finally Brian Tooley walks over, and he says, "Hey, guys, can we move it out of the booth?" And we said, yeah, no problem. Our bad. So what do? We move it right into the hall in front of their booth, the end of the walkway, and we're just in the middle of the walkway causing a ruckus. But apparently
You can do
they
it in our
left that
booth.
whole deal. They left that whole situation with a good taste in their mouth, and they said, "Man, them kids over there, they're exciting to be around." And so we've been growing that relationships pretty much since PRI. And they sponsored the Small Tire Gangsters race. They said, "Hey, can we do a Little Gangsters t-shirt?" We said, "Yeah, let's do it." And they sold out of their Little Gangster t-shirt. It says Little Gangsters, the People's Class on it. And so this man don't go nowhere without these things. But so BTR sponsors Small Tire Gangsters. They make a Little Gangster t-shirt. They sell out of that. They say, "Hey, man, any way we can be more involved with Little Gangsters as a brand, we think this really hits our customer, right between the eyes," which it does. I mean, if you have an LS anything, I would say they're LS LT based performance products. But if you have an LS based anything, you can probably run Little Gangsters if you put some effort into it. And so they started talking about not this weekend, but next weekend. They said, "Is there any way we can be involved in the Bowling Green?" They're also Kentucky based, I believe. So they say, "Is there any way we can be involved with the Kentucky Bowling Green $100,000 race that has Little Gangsters at it? We'd love to sponsor a class. We'd love to come set up and be involved in that." And me and Poland were like, "Well, man, these races are 7 days apart from each other. So the guys who show up this weekend for National Trails are probably going to show up next weekend for Bowling Green." And I mean, if you live in this part of the country, it's not a far stretch to say, "Okay, I'm going to go race National Trails this weekend. I'm going to go race Bowling Green next weekend." And what better thing to do than to take that sponsor money that BTR already wanted to put towards the class and spread it out and say, "Okay, instead of running, hey, just the Bowling Green is 5K bonus on top, let's do a mini point series and see if we can pull it off, see if it's something that we can sustain." I think Little Gangsters as a brand is so strong right now. And I was talking to Donald Long and talking about potentially incorporating it in his races moving forward. And he said, well, we got to make sure that we can get at least 16 cars. I said, yeah, that may be hard. Our smallest car count we've ever had was 28, and our biggest is 77. And he said, well, I can't do 77. It's like, yeah, so we're working through that. But so we decided to get back with Speed Productions and tell them, hey, BTR wants to come on board, and BTR wants to, sponsor 5K towards the class. And we have this idea where we're going to do this mini point series. So when you race national trails and Bowling Green, there'll be a point structure. We have it listed on the Facebook page. It should be easy to find. But when you race the Friday and Saturday race, you'll accumulate points, and the guy with the most points at the end is going to get $5,000 cash money. They're also going to get a complete sponsorship for BTR for the 2026 season. Now, that could go to LS
That's
Turbo
awesome.
guy who really needs that BTR sponsorship. That could go to a big block nitrous guy who's got an LS tow rig. I mean, either way, it's going to be a good opportunity for them to find a real player. If you go win that point series with the amount of cars we're expecting to have at both of them, then chances are you're a badass.
That person will also get an invite to Big Jake's.
Oh yeah,
the 32 car field that we're doing for Big Jake's. We've got a couple spots left open, and that is one of those spots that you will get in.
So you win the championship, you're guaranteed a spot
at 25K.
25K, 32 cars, Big Jake's, bear shit only, little gangsters.
Bear
I
shit
like it,
only.
man. I like it. I told you over the weekend, I think it's a great idea, and get some people to really demonstrate that commitment to the class, right? Like this is, I race little gangsters, right? Because a lot of these guys come from other walks
of different places. It's all over the place now. So many different series or whatever. So you got to have something to kind of tie it together.
Yeah. And for
how
us,
hard has that been for you guys? Like, obviously we've talked about it offline, but just the challenge of having the hot gig and not letting it get watered down, not letting people kind of take ownership of it. We've seen that happen.
Yeah, we've seen that. I got a text message the other day from a race that I'm still blown away that they're hitting us up to be a part of their race. And then what's even crazier about it is you got to tell them no, because we already have commitments and we've already scheduled where Little Gangsters is going to be ran the rest of the year for the most part. So the idea that you're going to jump in and pull a race off in like October or November, in this case, it was November, is like, no, it's not in the cards. And I can't have you doing it. I can't just say, oh yeah, you can run a Little Gangster and then compete with myself. So but
there's a lot of places that are right now, right?
I
mean, there's a lot of people that's ripping you off.
Yeah,
we've been ripped off 100 different ways.
Well, and then some of that is our fault. So when we originally did Little Gangsters, we had the 77 cars at Small Tire Gangsters. It was a big success. We went in front of everybody in the drivers meeting and we're like, we appreciate everybody's support. Like, if y'all want to run this class, we want to see it grow. We want to do this, blah, 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 blah. At that time, we didn't have LLCs, trademarks, any of that stuff. You know what I mean? After that, it kind of catapulted. Well, now, I mean, I look back, I seen a name the other day pop up with the Little Gangsters. I go back and look at my messages, and we have messages from 2023 where there was permission asked. And I'm like, hey, now this is like a case by case deal because we're trying to keep it not water and, muddy the water, if you will. So
yeah, I've been telling Tom that it's your fault pretty much too. So
yeah, that's
we're
pretty
on
much
the same
how it
page,
goes
Paul.
over here. Jimmy Dale Racing, just blame Poland. I mean,
there you go.
Well, I already made a mistake today telling the tent guy came to tent 50 Shades of Brown. Send JT the photo so he can.
I got it here
right now. 50 Shades of Brown looks insane right now. So the tent guy comes in and he's tinting 50 Shades, and I said, hey, any tent questions you have, just tell him. Well, now I got like 00 on the driver's side window. It's gonna be sick. I won't be able to see my competitor, but whatever, it'll be fine.
You don't need it. You don't need to.
So this is the second time in a week that I've been tasked with an operation, and the dude's cool. Don't get me wrong, but he was a fan and he just wanted to talk. So I've had an ass attachment multiple times this week, just following me around talking. So I haven't been able to get any work done thanks to Jimmy Dale, but we're here.
But then windows are tinted, dog. We needed them tinted. The windows are tinted. That was the goal.
Wait until you see this photo. Did you send it to
I
him?
sent it to JT.
Yeah, JT about to
I see
drop you.
he clicking around. I'm following his eyes.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go.
Lord.
good Lord. Good Lord. It does look good. I saw this on social earlier, and I love so who did that lettering for you guys? Is that vinyl or is it hand painted?
It's actually one of the guys that works here at Tin Soldier. It's his dad. He did all of Charlie Brown's work, and he knocked that out for us in literally 4 days?
It was almost 2 weeks, but we took the bumper off before we went to Roswell, and
We haven't been gone for
4
days.
days, 5 days. It was actually 2 weeks. Oh, that was hilarious.
We left on a Thursday and came back on a Monday. How is that 2 weeks?
whatever. So
Well, it just seemed like a long time being gone from it.
Jimmy Dale time is 2 weeks.
Yeah. But we had an idea, and we told him, hey, man, we'd love to have some like gold leaf, stuff done. And he blew it out of the water. He said, what color brown? We said, it don't matter. Just
It doesn't matter.
brown.
As long as it's brown. That's the whole deal. It's 50 shades of brown. So
It's bad.
Absolutely love it, man.
Yeah,
Tell me what you
yeah,
think
yeah.
about the 128 to win, or the 128 car small tire shootout coming up at Bowling Green. 100,000 to win, off the trailer, no testing. How do you see this deal shaken out? Is it going to be a name that we know that's the last man standing, or do you think we're going to see somebody come out of left field?
Did anybody, I love Larry to death, but did anybody have Larry Larson on their bingo card to win King of the South?
No.
Yeah, no.
Larry
No.
Larson wasn't even on the original invite list. He
Yeah.
was an alternate and got slid in and then said, Bink.
So that's really your answer. Like, I don't want to say it could be anybody's game, but there's a lot of these guys out there who have been a little bit more focused on one type of racing or the other. And it's almost like, man, they see the money. They know, okay, I can put small tires on my car. We can get there ET-wise. We got the power. We got the know-how. And, I mean, dude, that Hearts Charger was putting in work. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see because there is a
Where's,
lot of guys.
where's the
like
full list? Do we have the full list yet?
I don't think they have a full list out. I know there's some guys there's some guys testing that blew their shit to pieces. I mean, everybody's putting in max effort work trying to make that race and win that deal. Like,
yeah. I think you're going to see a good taste of cars this weekend at National Trails because a lot of these guys are just trying to get laps on a no prep, and it's going to be a really similar surface that you see at National Trails that you'll see at Bowling Green and small tire. And so I think the small tire field and National Trails will be really solid. And you'll see some of these guys. I guarantee you every single one of those MPK cars has got a small tire car on the top side or the bottom side of the stacker. Like, they're rolling in deep for sure with both cars this weekend just to get the laps in. But, I mean, and do we know if we're going to see Lyle?
That I don't know. He was in the comments earlier.
Yeah.
So
He
I'm not sure
got
if
in here
Lyle-
early.
Yeah, he was
Can we
like
just
early.
call him? Hey, Lyle, it's Jimmy Dale.
I mean, you can call him up.
Let's see.
I don't think we're seeing Lyle this weekend. I don't, or not this weekend. I don't think we see Lyle at the 100K,
Okay.
right? Who has a real chance of winning. And it's like, man, if who owns that car?
Tommy Yeoman.
If Tommy Yeoman decides that he's got the world record Pro 275 deal and that feather's in his hat and he's ready to move on, the no prep world's going to be on their toes. They are going to be on their toes. I got somebody here that's going to win the 100,000.
This is somebody that's gonna win the 100,000.
What up, Jason Terrell? Welcome to the show, man. The soldier himself. What's up, buddy? Hey, man.
I didn't know this was happening.
You
didn't know this was happening?
Just blame Poland. We got new shirts being made. Just say blame
You
Poland.
wanted to start Charlie. We're getting ready to warm it
Oh,
up.
I'm absolutely about to go fire up Charlie.
Hey, let's talk about this. What have you guys done to Charlie Brown to get it there ET-wise after King of the South? What have you guys done? Because we're working on 50 Shades of Brown for this weekend. These guys in here, I mean, you'd think they're rebuilding the whole entire car. I know it's got a different Pro Charger on it right now.
Yeah.
Jason's been working on a new charge pipe all day with a nitrous kit in it. What else you guys got? Y'all got a stator change.
Got a converter in it.
What else?
We went through all the valve train. We went.
They were checking the trans fluid.
Yeah,
Y'all get
Brad's
that done?
done a lot of stuff. It like, how you're never satisfied.
Yeah.
Like we ran okay at King of the South, but we were like very much upset, and we knew like we're not going to hit the combo on the head the first time out, right? But it showed a whole lot of promise, and especially early, like it was running really good at the 330, and we just couldn't figure it out the back. And man, we were pissed. We're just mad. So these guys, with their whole car was apart, we should have probably helped them a little bit, but we were so mad that we just kept diving into our junk. And so now, we've been working on it, and I don't know. It sucks. It's not a nitrous car. Like I was
just getting ready to ask that because how hard of a pill has that been to swallow?
It's hard for the fans. Like, and I love a nitrous car, man. Like I like a lot of people don't know our history, but we raced boosted stuff for a long time, and we went backwards really by most people's standards, right? Most nitrous guys go boosted and then they never look back, but we've really enjoyed the nitrous combo. It's just for a class that, I mean, let's face it, basically slick 10.5 racing is Pro 275 with no rules, right? No weights. And we already have an extreme disadvantage of the car that we've picked to do it with. And I don't really want to change the car. That probably will happen. It will have to happen at some point. But I would love to push out that change as far as possible. Because Charlie I love Charlie. He's a fan favorite. He's a party, but he's heavy, all these things. It's a 4-door car.
I mean, what more can you say?
Quick for JT. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that $100,000+ for a 959 is a lot harder to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, if we win 100 grand, I just
if we win 100 grand,
go back to a nitrous. Like, hey, now we can buy a big one, man.
We had the cylinder heads off of 50 Shades, and we look over our shoulder. Todd Kelly got the cylinder heads off his 959. So, man, it was not a good time to be big block nitrous in the King of the South, dog. It was not. But their cylinder head stayed on the Pro Charge car. So, I mean,
don't you think that's where a lot of this is going, you guys? Just like the raceability factor. Like not all of these events are like super fast paced, but they're getting that way. I think a lot of promoters are doing a better job just making sure their show flows and getting these cars back in the lanes, after a run. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot is guys saying, hey, the maintenance that's required is just so much lesser.
The blower guys make it look so easy.
Yeah, because I mean, you also it's the expense factor too. Nitrous is what, $8-9 a pound now.
Yeah,
and you're going through a bottle on a
spark plugs are $7.
Hey,
yeah,
wow,
we've
you're
been
on
trying
the
to
Drag
see.
Illustrated podcast. Are you going to be at the 100K races 2 weeks from now?
No,
I will not be at the 100K race.
Okay, well, so now we know.
He's being real social, isn't he? Yeah.
Send me Tommy's number. How much to rent the car?
We've been trying to see.
Not for rent.
Not for rent. All right, bud. Well, we'll let you go. Thanks for getting back to us on that. The whole world wants to know. Everybody in Small Tire No Prep can take a breath next weekend.
They don't give a shit whether I'm there or not. Shut up.
I mean,
we do.
We'll tell you this. Y'all put little Gangsters at No Mercy, and I'm gonna bring beer money up there and run smooth up.
You hear that?
You got the easy part done, Lyle. You got the easy part done, bud.
Hey, look, man, you were dodging me 9 months ago when you got your wife pregnant. That way you didn't have to come to Jake's race and get in business. You know what I'm talking about? You thought about that 9 months ago and was like, you know what? We better have this baby now. That way at Jake's race, when it comes around, I ain't got to get picked on by Big 50 Shades and Jimmy Dale.
See what you don't know. Scheduled with the OBGYN to take a C-section about 3 weeks early so I can come up there and skull drag.
Come on.
Yeah, you walked into that one.
Hey, his son's got a tough head, and he's wondering, Dad, why is my brain not fully developed? Going, well, look, man, I had to get to this race with Jimmy Dale, and it was 25,000. And I know your head's hurting right now, but you'll grow into it.
Well, the good thing is it's not a boy, it is a girl, and if she takes after her mother, she'll be just fine. So
she'll be hard-headed either way, is what you're saying.
Well, I'll go ahead and send that invite, and we'll see how confident you are with the lock-in. I'll expect that.
My card number over the phone.
There you go. You can get on there and just take that right now. Well, yeah, see, that's easy.
I'll send you.
Why don't we get that kind of shit talking in other forms of racing? I feel like we don't get that as much.
Well, I do think that sometimes our sport, we're like too buttoned up for our own good, or like everybody's afraid to hurt anybody's feelings. But dude, you and Lyle are friends. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're all boys, you know, and I think that's part of it is like, we need more of that showmanship. Like, let it happen, you know? I think it's a good thing.
When
We
me
need
and
more
Lyle
of it.
call each other, it's like, hey man, I'm not recording this phone call. I'm just calling to talk crap for a second, you know, like, oh, okay. So we're just talking like actual
So
homies right
we're
now.
definitely recording.
We're not on the live podcast
Yeah.
talking crap, you know?
Well, I
Uh,
think you said the showmanship thing, and that is the bummer about not having the nitrous car. I've been very scolded that I'm not allowed to give 17 rev ups at the starting line. Poland's
We
really
call them
sad.
whompers.
Yeah. Poland's really sad about it.
I
but-
had to go be friends with Kyle Kelly on the starting line at Shady Side just to give him the.
Yeah. Poland's gonna get bored up there if he can't do that, man.
I do. I get very bored. I'm just like, this is boring. I'm gonna go home.
You can put some purge nozzles on a wheelchair.
Oh, they're already there, bud. Late to the party.
When Wes drove Magic, he did a burnout, and I said, all right, that was soft. Don't be a pussy. And he come back up there. I said, you do a burnout as hard as you can do a burnout, and then after that, you clean that thing out. Wow! And sure enough, dude, he comes out there and does the burnout. Wow! I was like, yeah, hit it again. Wow! I was like, yeah, let's get it. And don't forget, you're here to put on a show.
Literally the same thing he told me a couple weeks ago. I'm like super focused, ready to go into the beams, and he slings the door open. He's like, no. You're here to put on a show. Put it neutral. Give it a few.
Well, if we would have run for these big purses and people, you know, the promoters need butts in the seats. Like the racers can't forget, we are here to put on a show. Yeah, we're here to win. We're here to be competitive. All those things.
100%.
We have to do those things, man, and engage with the fans and hang out. Let kids sit in your car. You know, whatever it takes, man. Like, because we are a traveling circus, whether we want to, you know, think of it that way or not, but we are.
I think
Do you-
Ty
what-
Kelly figured it out 45 times. He's got a new thing now he does where he's in the car and
tell
right
us.
before he makes a pass, he bangs it 3 times and he goes, huh, huh, huh. It's actually kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
But I mean, I think like people, where do you think, like, where did that detour take place? Because Mike and I both, like, Mike's dad is one of the drag racing's ultimate showmen. I mean, Charles Carpenter is a legend, but he had a way of doing things as well. He had things he was known for, but it does seem like somewhere along the way, like the racing
Turn
got
it to
so
Mike. Ask
serious.
Mike.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Mike's been
somewhere
there
around
now. His
along
dad
the
was
way.
doing it. At what point did we get soft?
Well, he never stopped. It was in, you know, like to the detriment of the performance. That's how we got to all Camaro bodies. You don't see the nostalgia bodies. Nitrous racing. I mean, yeah, nitrous racers in general, I feel like are showmen. They kind of come from that old school mentality, like what Jason's describing. And I just think that it's just something that's been lost because every little inch, every little number matters. But that's the beauty of what you guys are doing. That's the beauty of small tire racing, little gangsters. It's like there's more room for that because it's not so cutthroat like pro stock and NHRA Pro Mod and all this.
Because nobody in pro stock, I mean, those guys back up from their burnout exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how much clutch they, you know, pedal they use backing up, how quick can they get the clutch all the way out, you know, because all these things add up. And I do think like John Force doing big burnouts, how many people were introduced to John Force or fell in love with John Force because he was doing half track burnouts? You know, but then the crew chiefs started, you know, saying, oh no, we're losing something. We're leaving a lot on the table by doing those big ass burnouts. It's hard on the clutch, all these things. Right. And I think that was like, I'm not saying a fatal mistake, but it's a real issue that exists in our sport where we do have to embrace the showman nature of this whole deal more so than we do. And a lot of it, like, it's cool to put kids in your car and do all those things and sign autographs and do appearances. Those are great, but those should be like, that's an expectation, right?
Yeah.
That's not a big old, that's an expectation.
We
can put Mike in a tux with a top hat and a wand. He could be the ringleader of little gangsters. You look good out there, man.
Sign me up.
I can see
Let's
it.
do it.
You know, the weatherman / ringleader.
Yeah.
What's the kid that was at Yellow Bullet hanging out with us? The kid that was at Yellow Bullet or Yellow Belly hanging out with us that had the hat and the hair and he's going crazy up on the starting line.
Yeah, he's serious.
Mullet man.
But like, that's the reason he gets that from you. That energy comes from the guys behind the wheels, revving it up, cleaning it out, purging nitrous.
He might be a little crazy too.
Banging it through the motor with
brain
JT,
damage.
That was more like it was wild that I swung my arm the first time and we were in swing, like in sync. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was almost like a piece of me was riding with JT. We were getting hyped. And then after a few times, all I could hear was like, "Hey, watch this, watch this, watch this." And
Well,
it
tell
almost
them what
was-
happened at Small Tire Gangsters or King of the South. So Brad's the brains over here, okay? Jason's the face and the mouth, but Brad
Brad's
is
the
by
brain.
far
Yeah,
the
Brad
brains.
makes the
We
car
call
go
him
fast.
BBB, Big Brain Brad,
Yeah.
for a reason.
So Big Brain Brad told Jason King of the South, he said, no whompers.
Yeah, he's
No
very
throttle
stern.
wax, no whompers, no none of that. And I guess Poland come around the front of the car at King of the South, and he put his arm up and he swung that John. And Jason
JT said,
"Wow!"
He couldn't resist it.
That Poland,
I
I
got-
said no whomper.
My bad.
Oh no, this is more of what the sport needs, man, because I think sometimes we just get to taking ourselves too seriously. You know, like we're not out here curing cancer. You know what I mean? Like we're drag racing, we're racing with our friends, we're playing with our cars. And I know that the money gets crazy and the competition is serious and everybody wants to win. But if we want the sport to grow and we want people to be, oogly-eyed at whatever we're doing, like you've got to put on that show for them. And I hope there are some pro level racers out there like listening to this conversation, because all the legend, there's Jimmy Dietrich in the comments right now. Jungle Jim used to do quarter-mile burnouts and back up at 100 mile per hour. Like those things. I mean, I know drivers that have all these things they're known for, backing up really fast or whacking the throttle at the end of the burnout, all these different things, the Stevie Jackson style burnout. I mean, the way people stage their cars, we need more of this stuff. We need people to have their little trademark deals because that's what gets people excited and keeps them excited.
I would say, I think I speak for everybody here. When we're super laser focused and going in and like more focused on winning than anything, we usually go out first round and we don't have a good time. It's when we just show up to the track with our boys, stuff's falling out of the truck everywhere, nothing's organized, that we just run over everybody. Like it's more about having fun, partying with the boys, and the winning part comes with that.
So, do you guys know who Travis Pastrana is? I'm sure that you do.
Very much
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yep.
So when I growing up, I rode dirt bikes, and I still, if my body would take it, I would still be doing that, right? I love it. And but Travis obviously had an immense talent, right? And he won, a championship racing motocross. Well, the whole deal was they're like, you're going to be great. You can be a champion, even more so. And they're like, you have to train hard. So Travis, this is in his documentary. He went and he did everything Suzuki asked him to do, right? Like up early, doing the motos, doing the laps, doing everything. And he got slower. He lost because he lost his jive, right? He lost
joy.
why he was doing it. And like for me, like my dad is an NHRA Superstock guy. And man, my dad's really talented. I grew up going to NHRA races. But I hated drag racing, man. I hated it. I thought it was the dumbest thing. We made one lap a day. We waited all day, and it was just I hated it. So, like, when we started doing this, I told myself, I love my old man, but I'll never do it like that. And that's why our pit is a party, right? Like, we're having a good time, but we are there for a purpose. But for me, if we're not having a good time, I'm not driving good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be in the race car. Like, I want to be in my race car surrounded by my friends, right? And if we take it home at the end of the night, sick. We're gonna do some sweet stuff, right? But we're there. In the memories. Like my dad, there's probably 70 Wallies here, and my dad doesn't remember hardly any of those races. But what he does remember is all these funny things that happen along the way, right? And man, even if you're a professional drag racer, so what, man? We're here for a journey. And you're here to do it with people you like. And yeah, sometimes like I'll do it with less talented people because I like them. Whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever. You know,
Those two guys right there. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, damn, man.
I mean, like you said, I don't know. You know,
Hey, I'm just saying, for a dude in a wheelchair, a YouTuber, and a T-shirt guy, we're making it happen.
We're not doing well.
Pretty well.
T-shirt guy. But before I let you guys go, I do want to tell you.
Shout out to Cheese, the main man behind the scenes, the brain behind the Jimmy Dale operation.
Jason got us linked up with Cheeseburger to tune our race car this year. And he said, I think the conversation went like this. hey, you're kind of like a billboard for us, and we want you to do as good as possible, buddy. And so I want you to meet Cheese. Cheese is going to be good to you. If you have any questions, just try to work with Cheese. And then we were down there for U.S. Street Nationals, which wasn't our strongest performance, but we were trying to learn how to limit it 235. And we were driving with Cheese. We were like, all right, Cheese is cool. So then we went on a rampage, and out of 6 or 7 races, Cheese has taken us to the finals or won 5 of those. So what is he batting, like 800 right now?
Yeah, and I just want to say this, that don't ask us what Cheeseburger's name is, because I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry.
I don't know if he ever said it. I
He's
think I met him.
saying
I don't know.
it's Jesus.
I don't think he said like 5 words the whole weekend when I met him.
Yeah, that's Cheese. That's Cheese. Quick, quiet guy.
Well, dude, he's the real deal. I mean, he's the guy standing right beside Tony Bischoff, behind Jim Widener's Pro Nitrous Corvette, which is a bad son of a bitch, right?
Yeah,
I mean, those guys.
With that car, like,
that's a fast hot rod.
Than what people realize. And like, if you start paying attention and seeing where the mullet stands behind, those cars are normally running real good.
There's no doubt, man.
Real good. We won World Series of Pro Mod, and everybody's just losing it, right? Cheese is over here. He's going to get you with a, and then just walk back to the trailer. Like, no big deal. Like,
we pulled the car into the winner circle. We all took off to go find beer and all of that. And I look back over. There's a picture somewhere. Cheese has the laptop plugged into the car, and he was pulling the data log while we're all just going ballistic.
Not even celebrating. I mean,
you're on the roof of the thing. Yep.
Yeah, he's over there going, act like you've been here before, boys.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. That is it.
You're like, nah, next time. We will next time.
No, we'll do it next time.
We'll worry about being here before. Right now, we ain't ever done this.
No, I ain't ever going to act like I've been here before. We're going to act like it's the biggest, best race every time we win anything.
Hell yeah.
100%, man. I mean, I think that's honestly, Mike and I had planned on this deal talking about Drag Illustrated. This is our 20th year. And
That's
we don't talk about it very much.
This weekend or this month.
Is what?
Their 10th year.
10th year.
Is
Congratulations, Jason. That's amazing, man. I mean, and I know how hard that is. Like, and most small businesses don't make it but a couple of years, and I'm really proud of it. But a lot of our success or whatever has been rooted in having a good time. Like, we try to, wherever we go, we try to make sure whatever the people that are around us are having fun. And I think that's what makes the Winter Series so special.
That's where he fits in. That's where
he's
JT
our mascot.
Be a swan. Be a swan.
Yeah. I got a really serious question, Wes. I have a really serious question. Can we get 10-5 at the Winter Series, just like how we ran it at King of the South? No weights. On a 28-10-5, let's get it.
We're calling it true 10-5.
All right, whatever we call it, I don't care.
Or OG
it'd be sick.
I'm in. We're gonna make some changes with class lineups and things like that. So I'm in. I'm here for that. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
It would be a good.
I gotta go after this, but I have one other favor, right? And then I'll leave. Yep. But when I was a kid, we would go. My dad races Indy every year. And what made me actually fall in love with drag racing was a fuel altereds. So they would have the 8-car shootout at Indy every year. So my old man is still here. He goes to Indy. I would love if we could maybe one year have a 28-10-5 shootout at Indy Friday night exhibition deal. That would be so sick. You're the people that could maybe pull that off. So I'm throwing it into the atmosphere,
Fair enough. And
the first one we can do, that second one's going to be tough.
They'll probably find you for having 4 doors.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. I'll tell you, fuel altereds are, like, in my drag racing pecking order or whatever, they're right behind Pro Mod.
They're
like,
the coolest,
they are ill handling, awesome looking, do all the things you want them to do. And
I gotta find the video. My dad in his nitrous car raced a fuel altered at Mocan Dragway back in the day, and they used to do that a lot. But back in the early days, they couldn't find enough pro mods that were fast enough to run, a top level pro mod. So we're running a fuel altered. It was badass. I'll have to find the photos. And
Well, they
videos
did a
of that.
badass Pro Mod versus Fuel Alters race down here in Texas a few years ago.
Yeah.
Chris Graves did it for 2 or 3 seasons, and it was a really cool deal. The problem is just inventory. Like I think we could put together a badass 28-10-5 deal because there's a gazillion cars that can fit it. But then you go, trust me, I've thought a lot about my first big production was the World Fuel Altered Nationals. People maybe don't know this, but like I started that event in 2005, and that was my first big promotion. Like the first ever big race I put on was the World Fuel Altered Nationals in Eddyville, Iowa. And so I've always had a thing for fuel altereds, but even back then I was calling dudes in California, Canada, all over the freaking world trying to get them to come because there was just so few of them. And it's gotten better. I think there's more of them and there's places to race them now. But I'd be all about a fuel altered race, man. And I'll let you go, JT, but I do want to tell you, I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a Christian.
Sorry.
And I love what you're doing. The other day when you guys posted like the video with Dan Parker, the video with Poland, I just think it's an amazing thing that someone who has a big following like you is devout and strong in their faith, and we need more of that. So thank you for that. I just thought it was an awesome, badass deal, and I'm going to come hang out at one of your men's nights one of these days.
We would love to have you, man. I mean, and really like the why. For us, like, if I'm honest, my dad was in his 50s before he gave his life to Jesus. And I watched my dad change, and I watched my dad become full of joy. And nobody ever went to him, right? Like, he was just drag racing on the weekends and not going to church and all this stuff. Well, like, man, when I read my Bible, the Jesus that I see was a carpenter. He's a blue collar worker. He went, so he adventured. He went out. If you're at the heart of it, right? Like, he went out with his friends and did stuff. And that's all we want to do, man. I want to reflect him. That's why losing's easy. Like, nobody cares what you're like when you win, but when you lose, people watch, right? Or you throw a rod through the motor, or you do whatever. Like, that stuff speaks way louder. So I appreciate it, man. Like, Jesus is king, and we're going to keep pushing it. We're going to see how many people we can baptize, and we're gonna see what change heaven a little bit, right? Like, when we get to the end of this deal, let's get up there, and you know what I mean? Like, I think my little boy told me the other day, he said, "Daddy," and I think kids are the closest thing. Like, they understand more than we give credit to. And Brixton was like, "Daddy, do you know that there's drag strips in heaven?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, brother. I'm with you." Like, okay. So I think
100%, man.
More like this than we can understand.
No, it's so true, man. And you're doing the Lord's work, dude. I appreciate it. I think there's a whole bunch of people that do, and it's great to think about. Like, we can still be our boys, and we can go out and have fun and do all this crazy stuff that we do. But it's like it comes from a good place. You know what I mean? And it's trying to help people find their way, man. I have a friend that's super involved in a church, and they started holding church services at the local bar because they're like, we can't wait for them to come to us. We got to go to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
He starts laughing down there.
Well, I mean, I performed weddings at one before, but I used to tell people, if you want to, like, do you guys come here very often? I used to own a bar, and it was ordained. You guys come here very often? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, I'm just not going to do it in a bar. It's just like the first mistake you're going to make right here. So
marrying somebody in a bar. How many weddings do you have under your belt now, JT?
Oh, probably about 35 or 40, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have that many. I got maybe like.
Dude, I don't like doing it, and I just did it for friends, and then it just kind of snowballed. So now I have to do all my friends. And then if you tell them no, then they realize that you're not good friends with them.
I'm ordained as well, and I've done 2 weddings, and it's stressful. Like, it's one of the greatest days of their life, and you don't want to mess it up. And you know several of the people there, even if you're super close with the bride or the groom or both of them, there's a bunch of family there that you have no clue who they are.
Imagine that JT is your ordained minister here or whatever, and you're like, yeah, we're just waiting on him, and the dude barrel rolls out of a golf cart coming down the hill.
JT had just finished marrying some people when he had the famous Northeast Missouri "my truck has been stolen" situation. So he's typically walks off the altar like in pretty lubed up. Pretty lubed up. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's not red line oil.
Nerd
it's
juice.
using.
It's
not red line.
Oh, it's red line oil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, seriously, Poland, Jimmy Dale, congrats, man. I'm excited about this deal, and I can't wait to see you guys in a couple of weeks in Kentucky. I'm fired up to be there. JT, I'm excited to see you as well. Jason Terrell, not you, JT Hudson, but I'll see you hopefully soon as well. Thank you guys for joining us. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you at the racetrack soon.
See you soon,
buddy.
Appreciate you, boys.
See you guys.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I think that's about a wrap on the June 11th, 2025 episode.
Hey, we got to
Wes
we got
Buck
to put
Show.
one more cap on this thing. NHRA, I lost it. NHRA actually, while we're on the show here, released an updated statement on the Erica Enders thing. Which
Is it in my email?
No,
What-
it's
what's it
maybe
say?
so
Yeah,
it's
it is.
long. It's long, but I'll read it.
Hit
Following the fourth round of qualifying in Bristol, Erica Ender's car was found to be equipped with beadlock liner wheels, including an inner liner tire. These wheels and inner liner tires were originally developed to provide increased sidewall support during launch and reduce the likelihood of tire shake. The widespread adoption of this combination in other categories where wheel liners are legal demonstrates that the performance benefits of improved tire support outweigh the added weight. Based on this, NHRA technical department determined that the use of these wheels and liner tires was intended to create a performance advantage not permitted in the pro stock category. The 2025 NHRA rulebook clearly states that unless optional performance equipment or performance-related modification is specifically permitted by this rulebook, it is prohibited. All model, engine, or equipment changes or modifications not specifically addressed in the rulebook must be submitted in writing for NHRA for consideration prior to competition. Now, this is the interesting part. The Elite Motorsports team had a conversation with an NHRA official regarding this topic during the Epping event, and this rule was communicated to them at that time. By choosing to use these wheels and tires in Bristol, they demonstrated a willful disregard for the instruction given by NHRA.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Well,
Shots
that's
fired.
he said, she said now then, right?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
really, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what boils down to at this point.
That's a
Well, I'm
long
proud of them.
statement, but
I'm
it tells
proud
me
of
that
them
they're
for
taking
putting
a
out
lot
a
of this. Well, they're taking. It seems like they're really listening. I mean, Rick Dodge was in here. They got their ear to the ground on this and are like listening very intently and releasing these statements. So, pretty interesting, man. I mean, yeah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I think Jim Parks is in the comment. The key point seems to be in writing. I mean, I've heard that a lot. I mean, there was multiple times when there was a different intake manifold at one point in time in Pro Stock that drawings weren't submitted, and it caused some hubbub. So, I mean, I think that these things I think that's a valid point. I don't know that I see it as a performance enhancement as much as I see, you know what I mean? Because I do believe that it would be outweighed by the weight of the setup. But at the same time, there's no doubt nobody's doing anything to the race car to try to slow it down.
Yeah.
You know,
In this case, in Pro Stock, I think because, you're fighting for every horsepower, and it just probably doesn't have the power to overcome that added weight. But that's why they use them in Pro Mod and everything. You got all the power that you need, and they want a more stable setup and contact patch and whatever else it's providing with the support. So it makes sense there. But yeah, I don't know. Very interesting.
it is interesting, and I do think there's going to be continued announcements because I think that there's enough happening in the behind the scenes and phone calls being made that there's a lot of, and it's so interesting to me that there's so much focus on the rear wheel and tire of these cars right now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, over the course of all of the pro stock racing that I've watched over my life, which has been a bunch, I don't know that I've ever seen so much focus on something, as like simple as a wheel and tire combination. You know what I mean? Like that is 100%. I mean, back in the day, they were cheating with nitrous, right? The Daryl Alderman, Jerry Ekman days, and they're using nitrous. Billy Glidden, they're using nitrous. We don't see anything like that these days. And, I've heard different things about slightly too big of engines. I've heard things about guys having intake manifolds that nobody else has and all these different things, right? But it's just interesting to me that right now the focus is on rear wheel and tire. And I do think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. But
Next week's show, we'll have the next statement.
We'll have the next statement next Wednesday for you guys
really,
right here.
What's too bad is that they don't run pro stock in Virginia. There's a little bit of a lull here. Like we need this momentum to keep going.
I was talking to Tyler Cross, and he said the same thing. Like, I'm bummed out that pro stock's not going to be in Virginia because I want to see this whole thing continue right in front of my eyes. So it'll be a long couple of weeks waiting for Norwalk when the pro stocks return to action. But I tell you what, man, I think they stole the show in many regards this past weekend, and it's proof positive that door slammer drag racing can and I believe will carry our sport into the future. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you. Shout out to all of our sponsors: Redline Synthetic Oil, Flow Racing, Applied Racing Technology, Stroud's Safety, and Racers Club. We appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel.
There you go.